Hello.
My man. Hey, Hunter.
How you doing?
I'm doing beautifully. Your voice sounds sonorous. How you doing?
Doing good. Also, who says anything about me not wanting to have a 4 hour long chat?
You're right.
Maybe it can be 5 hours.
I'm sorry for being presumptuous. We are going to run it through 24 hours, the first 24-hour VOD stream, okay? I just had a protein bar. I'm ready. I've got the nutrients. I hope
All
you're ready.
right.
I hope you're not just talking big because we
No,
will run it
24
through.
hours is 24 hours is fine with me. That's completely fine.
Oh, the stamina of a live streamer in this prepared content, Andy. I see. Great
Exactly.
potential. Um, uh, we'll
Yeah, I don't
keep it
know.
like.
I
How was your weekend? What did you do for the weekend?
um not too much to be honest. I worked, wrote a video. Um I had some friends over.
Nice.
Um, well, actually, me and my wife are moving very soon. We're buying a house right now, so it's very exciting.
Oh, that's
Um,
fantastic.
yeah, we're really excited. So things have been a little busy with that, but for the most part, other than the move, life has been going pretty well. What about you? How was your weekend?
That was pretty okay. I don't actually. I think for the weekend I just played. I think I just played Dark Souls. I finished. I finally finished the Dark Souls trilogy on stream. We beat.
Okay.
Yeah, we beat Gwyn. We beat. I did it up to Gwyn first try. Calamite first try. Artorias second try. Mana second try. We were really doing it up. And I
Wow.
beat it. Beat the game strong. Yesterday I was super productive. I got a bunch of research done. I've been doing research on immigration and its impact on the economy in preparation for my debate with Sargon, and it is delightful to see that all of the established research completely verifies everything that I previously believed. So
Well,
I'm
yeah.
feeling confident about that.
Excuse me for 1 second.
No, of course.
Had to enter something really quickly. Yeah. No, I really enjoyed your debate with Sargon actually. He I had the chance to talk to him myself actually when I did the speech with Turning Point.
Was
Um
he there?
so oh yeah, so what we did is you remember the speech where I talked about how censorship is like a big sham on the right basically?
Yeah, wait, can you wait, hold on, because this is some of the most based shit you've ever done. Can you inform my audience, please? I've told them, but the
Yeah,
new
sure.
viewers and such.
Sure. So what happened was I used to be, all you guys, everyone watching knows that I used to be a lot more of like the sort of right wing. Like I would just kind of repeat what I heard from other right leaning people. And the thing is I thought I was all based and stuff, but I wasn't really thinking for myself. Um, and so what happened was my opinion on the whole idea of like tech censorship of conservatives totally changed after I just saw the data that like right leaning pages grow significantly faster than left leaning pages and so on. And I was in a tough position because my opinion on this had changed. I no longer really felt like conservatives were like these the victims of big tech censorship or anything. I kind of felt like the whole thing was just a fucking lie. And so I had already agreed and I was invited. Well, I guess I was invited, then I agreed to come on to speak at a Turning Point USA event called The Censored. So I was like, oh man, I was like, there's no way in hell I'm gonna get up there and just start, rambling about big tech censorship of
Really
conservatives
quick
when I
though,
don't.
that is such a snowflakey name. I have to say, like imagine like a lefty conference, like the forgotten, the downtrodden. Like you're burying the lead so far with that
Yeah, and
conference
to
title.
to be completely honest, it was from it was through a Turning Point chapter in a college, and
Mhm.
they were actually very polite and very accommodating too. But what happened was I decided I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go and speak there, and instead I'm gonna just bring up the fact that censorship's a myth. And so I got to speak first. I was speaking, and then Sargon was gonna speak. Um, so I went out there, I did my whole speech, which is what started the whole fallout with the alt right and everything, which is, very a good thing. And yeah, I spoke. I talked about how it was a myth. I talked about how I didn't really think it like. I talked about the flaws still, like how a lot of these big tech censorships big tech companies lack transparency,
Mhm.
and I kind of feel like that makes it a little easier for people to believe that they are being censored because they're not really too clear on the rules. So I went into that a little bit, but I also brought in all the data that showed otherwise. And after I spoke, it was actually kind of funny because Sargon came out and he just like skipped his speech. He was like, you know what? I don't even want to speak. I just want to start the Q&A because he literally had like so much of an issue with everything that I said. And we each had like an opening video that we got to play. So I did like a montage of some of like my edgiest commentary and some of my newer commentary also with my refined viewpoints on some things. And then Sargon's video, it's like this like long like he was trying to do like a comparison to how like the big tech companies censoring conservatives is like equivalent of like fascist government takeovers or something. And I was just like, oh God. And my wife in the crowd was just like, oh God. So that, I mean, it was honestly a lot of fun. And the audience there was actually pretty receptive because they kind of had to be, because they're all like, yeah, we're conservatives. We're open to the other new ideas and everything. So when I came up there and spoke, they were actually pretty polite about it. I've brought that same opinion to a different panel I was on at what was it called, Minds in Real Life event, where a lot of like the, I guess you'd say like skeptics were invited.
I'm trying to get into one of the next Minds, one of the next conferences, because I feel like to be a phenomenal like opportunity to shit stir. You know what I mean? I really hope I can.
You should totally try. You know what? I actually know the guy that manages the events. I could always hit him up too and ask him, because that would be really cool if you could come. We should try to get on a panel together too.
Are you fucking kidding? Absolutely. Wait, if you can hook me up with that contact, oh yeah, I would do anything to get in a panel with you. That'd be fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it would be really fun. But that was kind of my first shift of opinions, like publicly, was the censorship thing. So of course, you know, I got some controversy for that, because there are previous videos of mine where I was talking about getting banned from Twitter because I was conservative or something. Like I fully admit, like, I used to peddle a lot of this bullshit stuff, a lot of this bullshit that is just, it's just not supported by the data.
Yeah.
And it's really been telling how quick conservatives run with the whole censorship thing, and it actually really bothers me. Like, I mean, PragerU uses the censorship idea to gain subscribers. Like, I've seen them use it in their marketing
it's
before.
actually crazy how hard they push this. Steven Crowder's done multiple videos, and PragerU is currently in a lawsuit with the state of California.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. And the whole thing, and I went over it on stream with a lawyer. I had a lawyer call in, and the foundations of their lawsuit are complete nonsense. It seems like they have the money to drag it out forever, and they make money off the publicity they get from that inevitably, doomed lawsuit. And I want to say, by the way, just to clarify, and I know you agree with this, there is definitely like a systemic issue with the fact that tech companies that are beholden to no one except their investors are capable of basically completely exercising like discretion over the content of internet political discourse. I think everyone can agree that's a huge issue. But the narrative that they're like did like targeting conservative actors is it's not backed up by data.
Right. And what I've argued with a lot of conservatives also, I'm like capitalism, guys. These tech companies want to make money. They want as many people as possible on their platform. Like, YouTube didn't even do anything with demonetization until the mainstream media attacked them for monetizing like edgy content. And some of the content was actually like, terrible.
One of Reddit's biggest subreddits for a really long time, one of the largest, was Jailbait, and it was host to. Were you on Reddit back in those days?
I've never really got into Reddit that much.
It was crazy. This one of the biggest sites in the English-speaking web, and one of the largest subreddits, hundreds of thousands of people. It was all just about posting like sexy pictures of underage girls in clothing, and there was a whole black market of child pornography going on in the background, and Reddit left this untouched for years until the press finally started to dig into it. Like, the companies don't give a shit what's going on as long as they're making money from it and they're not getting too much negative publicity. That's all.
Exactly. So it doesn't make sense that these big tech companies are conspiring to somehow remove like conservative content. And I don't know if you know who Joel Patrick is.
Joel Patrick. No, I recognize
He's
that name.
he's honestly, me and him used to be friends, but he's just another typical like black conservative grifter. Um, and
Yeah.
so me and him recently got in an argument. I challenged him to come on a live stream with me and debate me on the censorship issue.
Mm-hmm.
He lost, of course, but he he was trying to argue that. So remember the what was it? The recent shooting that happened in Texas where there were like good guys with a gun that stopped the shooter.
Yeah, like the one, like the one, like the every, the 1 in 10 chance, like the good guy with a gun thing actually pans out. Yeah.
Right. And so he had posted a video of the guy, like the bad guy getting shot, and then Instagram had removed it, and he was claiming that it was conservative censorship. So I was like, Joel, stop being an idiot. I was like, you're not, well, I didn't think he was stupid at the time, but now I've been proven wrong on that. But I was like, Joel, you're not stupid. I was like, it was because you can't post videos of people getting shot on Instagram. It has nothing to do with you being a conservative.
I
It's just,
uploaded 24 hours of unedited ISIS beheadings as evidence of Islamic terror to PBS, and they took the segment down. And this is evidence of conservative censorship. They won't let me get my message out about the threat Islam poses to the West. Yeah, I just like any excuse, right? Like any excuse to
and it's
like self-victimize.
it's just, yeah, it really, and it's really sad too, because these people, like, they peddle the censorship thing over and over again, but when they're actually confronted with the data, they just shut down. Like, they have literally no arguments. And it was so apparent when I was debating Joel Patrick, because he just had no arguments. I kept saying, I was like, why is the data showing conservatives are growing faster? Why is the data showing that conservatives are like the biggest pages on Facebook? I mean, fuck, there's been data that shows like Fox News performs just as well as other news outlets. And I've gone into like extensive detail into this on my Project Veritas video on the reason, the way that these for example, like the way Google shows you search results, like accurate search results, are based on like an algorithm that was created back in the 90s, and it's based on, now obviously I'm oversimplifying this, but it was based on link-ins.
Sure,
so like,
it's incredibly complicated in the back end. Yeah.
Right. But like, generally speaking, it's based on how many other articles or other sources of, I guess, other media are linking to your article. That's what sort of dictates how like Google searches,
Which is genius for some of the back end like conservative outlets, because a lot of these are like rampantly incestuous productions where they will link with like a blog post will link to a blog post, will link to Breitbart, will link to like Daily Caller, which will link to the daily, and that'll link back to the blog post, and it turns into a self-contained web of relevance with no like sort of external backing.
And that's why when you Google stuff, Breitbart and Fox News and shit comes up at the top of the search results all the time. So for like, the whole censorship thing is just one of the biggest shams. And it's also really surprising how mad a lot of the conservatives get when I talk about this. And I tell them, like, because what they'll say is, they're like, well, what about this guy that got banned? Or what about this person that got banned? And I'll just turn it around on them. And I'm like, well, if a feminist said that she like got paid less at McDonald's, it's not proof that there's like a systemic wage gap, right? So like, I'll try to use their talking points back at them to show how illogical it is. And I don't know, it's been really, really quite a trip.
No,
it was also,
I imagine it's been a riot, and not to mention, you've gotten a lot of condemnation like from the alt-right as well, not just like sort of more milquetoast conservative organizations.
Yeah, because it's the alt-right that's getting banned, and they've led a lot of people to believe that the alt-right is the equivalent of conservatives. So when alt-righters are banned, it means conservatives are getting banned.
You know what this reminds me of? Really, really quickly. Did you? I don't know, like if you're in the sphere at all. Did you see or even hear about the debate between Destiny and Mike Enoch?
I only heard about it because I heard you talk about it.
Gotcha. Yeah, Mike Enoch, host of the Daily Showa, a neo-Nazi. Showa means Holocaust in Hebrew. Anyway,
Hmm.
towards the end of the discussion, Mike Enoch was trying to prove a point about how like conservative or like he would calls it, you know, pro-white. Of course, that's like how Nazis call themselves.
Right, right,
How
right.
his pro-white friends were getting arrested for nothing. Like they would show up at rallies and like they had a few texts between each other, being like, "Yeah, we're gonna fuck him up, dude," or whatever, but nothing illegal. And they got
Mhm.
arrested, and there were like no witnesses were presented at trial, and they were just thrown in. He was making it sound like it was a, you know, like a kangaroo court, basically. Um,
Mhm.
and it's really difficult to disprove those up front, but after the fact, people looked it up, and the specific friends he were referring to, not only did they plead guilty to the charges presented to them in court, but there was extensive evidence of them not only planning targeted violence, but actively engaging in harassment and violence against protesters. He just completely skipped it over.
Right.
It speaks to the victim mentality of these types. Not because I think he genuinely believed it when he said it. Like he could
Mhm.
watch a friend crack an Antifa protester over the head with like a beer bottle, and as that guy gets arrested, he'll think like, this is conservative censorship. We
He
did
did nothing
nothing.
wrong.
He did nothing wrong. I think they actually believe it when they say it. I don't know if it's all like planned dishonesty. It's crazy.
I think that a lot of people in the far right, um, the problem is that it's so easy. Like, actually, you said something that I agreed with. It was wonderful what you said. It was I'm trying to remember. You said there's no amount of mediocrity that conservatives won't embrace, or something like that. On how, and I agree so much with that, because all you have to do is just repeat the same conservative talking points, and you will literally be accepted, promoted, given money, you get lots of followers. Like, it's so cringy to me to see these people like fucking Caitlyn Bennett, and there's this girl Alex Clark
Oh
who
man,
does
The
this.
Caitlyn Bennett saga has been is truly divine, almost a gift to everyone who's not like a lunatic conservative. There is
Right.
no qualification that she has to be doing any of this. No charisma, no journalism degree, nothing.
I know
And still hundreds of thousands of views on her videos. It's just like you
it
just
because
have to throw anyone out there.
it doesn't matter that, like, and again, I don't want to shit talk like all conservatives, because a lot of my followers are still conservatives, and there's also a lot of people who are like more right leaning, but they're still just like, they're just like kind of your casual, like, Republican, conservative, sort of center. um but like, for a lot of people on the right, all they see is, they're like, a girl, she's pro gun and she's interviewing, haha, dumb liberal libtard wrecked,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's just enough to like subscribe, like, comment, here's some money. Like, it's so cringy. And then what makes me really mad too, I'll be honest, this is like me kind of just whining, I guess, but it kind of bothers me when people call me a grifter, because I'm like, guys, if I were a grifter, I wouldn't be like open about changing my opinions on things when when presented with like, so like substantial data.
Mhm.
So I think that there are a lot of grifters on the right, but I also think a lot of people on the right honestly do believe what they're saying. And that's always been the boat that I was in, which I know it does, some of the shit that I used to say, especially about trans people, it doesn't make it any better, that I did believe that. But the thing is like, some conservatives, they're just in it for the money, like Dave Rubin.
Yeah,
And
Dave
then
Rubin, Candace Owens is another like really, probably a really,
Candace Owens is so insufferable. Oh, it's so
yeah.
fucking annoying to me. But then there's other ones who are like, I really do think that they're a little more genuine, a little more honest. I think, to be honest, that Ben Shapiro is. I think Ben Shapiro can be a bit like a pretty big dipshit, but he's a little bit of a better representation of
I think Ben
some.
Shapiro is honest. Yeah, I don't think Ben Shapiro
Yeah.
is for most part a liar. I think he's like a spoiled little like overprivileged brat who got told that he's big brain like his whole way through life, and now the idea of like self checking is inconceivable to him. So he'll just
Hmm.
say whatever dumb shit comes to the top of his mind as an immediate rebuke to whatever he's listening to, but he believes
Hmm.
it. He's not deliberately going through the process of recognizing what he's saying is dishonest and then going through with it anyway. I think he actually is an honest actor. Not that that means very much, you know. I do want
Right.
to say, by the way, because I agree, and I've said this before. So I'm not a conservative, and I haven't been a conservative for a really long time. Not since I was like an adult, you know. Um,
Hmm.
but so I don't want anyone to be conservative, you know. But I recognize people are always going to have different political opinions, and that's fine, and that's a good thing too, because that's a
Hmm.
necessary part of sort of, you know, diegetically arriving at, you know, good political decision making. But if you're a conservative in this country, there's no good outlet for you. There are no good figures for you to aspire to, because most of the online right-wing circuit are either Nazis or grifters, and the ones that aren't either are sometimes batshit. There are some good people out there. I'm not denying that, unquestionably.
Hmm.
And I felt like you were when I watched your videos, because I thought there was a sincerity with which you addressed your points that I think is bereft in many other conservative figures. Even if I disagreed with you, I still respect that. Character is important, but
Thank you.
sometimes it just feels like there's no way to actually be a good conservative in this country, or at least no way to arrive at that position easily, because all you have set up in front of you are bad role models. You have hideously cruel people, for example, like Steven Crowder. For the whole point of his program is teaching the audience to hate and think nothing of the people he derides, whether they be
Yeah, I
immigrants or trans
I
people.
hate Crowder. To be honest, I've always disliked Crowder. Like I always found him really insufferable, and I always would be bothered because people used to compare me to him a lot.
Yeah.
Now I see the comparison a little more, but um, I've always hated Crowder, but especially recently, some of his newer content has been just so insufferable, and it bothers me too because so many conservatives are just loving him for what? Just because he says what they want to hear.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes that's all you really want from a figure. I recognize that. I recognize that I lead into that too. There are probably tons of people who just watch me and they don't care about like the behind the scenes thought process. They just care about like, if I owns the conservative, and they feel like smart for agreeing with me. And I don't like that. I think people should aspire to relate to
But
their
you
content a
also
little better.
but you also do a good job at sort of challenging your own ideas, and you also challenge other people within the left, which I think is something really good. Like whenever I try to challenge people on the right, I'm always accused of like, why are you dividing people? We all should be unified, blah
Hey,
blah blah.
me too, buddy. I'm so glad I get to relate on this to you, because for a lot of people, when they see me like criticize the left, they feel like I'm betraying them or something, rather than trying
I
to actually
know.
adhere to the principles we're supposed to care about. And I guess, I mean, you've been getting like a ton of that too
Yeah,
yourself.
oh yeah. And what I keep saying too is I'm like, guys, like the conservatives were like they're always talking about winning the culture war. So if you want to win the, quote culture war, don't you want to have the best ideas and be able to improve your ideas and be able to look inward and like take data in and adapt? How are you planning on winning the culture war if you can't do that? So I
Important
would be curious
question.
to hear.
Sorry,
Oh,
no, please.
well, all I was going to say is I'd be curious to know what some people who are more right leaning would say about that.
I mean,
Would say to that.
if you go far enough right leaning, what they'll probably say to you is, "How does anal sex win the culture war?" Or how does anal sex help us win the culture war? You know, you
Or
know
how does
the
spending 10 hours with a cat boy help win the culture war?
true. The God, how do you? Okay, so I want your opinion on this. Okay, so the alt right so Nazis have been
Hmm.
part of the sort of American political process for as long as Nazis have been around. There have always been, from the small town, you know, like Midwestern cops who secretly, you know, have like Mein Kampf in their closet, you know, to
Yeah, yeah.
to politicians who like basically enact like white nationalist policies to the best of their extent
Hmm.
while keeping things white. They've always been there, but the alt right is a
Hmm.
is a relatively new phenomenon, and this attempt to co-opt the legitimacy of conservatism, you know, because you hear this with these types, you know, we're the real conservatives. What's conservative about gay marriage? What's conservative about trans people? What's conservative about immigration, you know? And to them, conservatism is never really meant to conserve the past. It's always been like sort of an ideological mishmash, just in the same way that liberal has never really meant like perfectly adhering to the principles of the Enlightenment. So terms are usually disanalogous to what they are originally meant to represent. But to them, conservative apparently means like tradcon or like a reassertion of a white 1950s America where women knew their place, when immigration was kept to the swaths of the ghettos. And that to them that's now an alt-right position. But 70 years ago, that was a mainstream political position. And it's insane that in such a short period of time, these people, I think it speaks to our progress, if anything, that in such a short period of time, these people have gone almost from the norm to being like Nazi adjacent. And they've been harassing you too, which is funny because you adhere to the principles of tradconnery better than almost any other political figure, to my knowledge. You, pardon me if I'm mistaken here, you married young, you know, you have kids, you're buying a house. You're living the dream.
And it's actually pretty funny too, because I posted a photo the other day on my Instagram showing that me and my wife just got our marriage license. And like we were getting so much shit for it. And the thing with the alt-right is like they have done such a good job at I'm trying to figure out how to articulate this, but at like no matter what, you can never really like they will always deny the accusation of them being alt-right or them being anything like I don't know. Take over the conversation, Vosh.
I just had 2 back-to-back debates with Fuentes fans. I was playing Dark Souls. It was a busy night.
I watched them both. Don't worry.
These people are delusional. Like, hey, we're not neo-Nazis. We're paleo-conservatives. All right, what's the difference? Well, we want to restrict immigration, bring things back to the way they used to be. Okay, do you want a white America? Well, yeah, of course, the way things used to be. Okay, do you think the Jews are orchestrating like an international conspiracy to destroy the white race via immigration, economic? Well, yeah, of course. They run from the label. And the one guy who I was talking to, he was like, I'm not a neo-Nazi. I'm not a neo-Nazi. That's crazy, dude. And I think he was trying to convince himself more than he was trying to convince me. Like that's the final step for him, you know? Like he's gone this far. He's this crazy already. And the one thing, the only like vestige of sanity he's able to latch onto in these dark times is convincing himself that he's not actually a fucking Nazi. The amount of ideological incoherence with these people is crazy. You used to be religious, did you not?
Yeah, way back I did.
Like 3 or 4 years ago, or what's the time
No,
frame?
probably like let me think here. It's 2020 now. I had kind of been questioning the religion and stuff since like the end of 2015. And by the mid 2017, I had like publicly distanced myself from all religion.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I can never address that angle, because if a person is like in a religious sense, like just abhorrently disgusted by gay people or anal sex or whatever, I can't argue against the fundamental irrationality of like, you know, of like theological justification for one's predilections. You could. I can.
I've actually started a lot of shit with some of the more right-leaning followers that I have, because I actually don't think the Bible condemns gay marriage. So a lot of conservatives, you know, use that very frequently, but the go-to verses that they use, for one, there's one with Lot's people. Basically, me and my wife did some research, and it looks much more like what the Bible is describing is the act of sodomy to degrade or like rape, rather than like a consensual gay relationship. So, I mean, that's obviously, again, oversimplifying it. And I'm not here to defend the Bible by any means, because there's a lot of fucked up verses in the Bible that are you cannot defend. But
Of course, yeah, yeah. But the point is, like, they'll misinterpret even the passages that they use to
right.
reinforce their points.
Right. And it's funny too because they'll use the Leviticus verse about like stoning someone who's gay or something, and then only like a few verses after that they talk about welcoming foreigners as your neighbor. But they never, like you
They
never hear
never,
about
yeah.
you never
You
hear
got to
about that
really
part.
twist the text, to get all this anti-gay, anti-trans, whatever. But a plain reading makes Jesus's opinions on immigrants and the poor pretty straightforward. You don't have to get much into the weeds to figure out what his opinions would have been on stuff like immigration, or welfare.
Right.
But again,
Right.
arguing with these people, they're at least the alt-right, like Christians or Catholics, they're fucking crazy. So,
Well, a lot of people just the thing is I don't care if people are religious. I mean, my whole thing is just freedom. I want people to be able to live their lives how they please. But so many people use their religion to just enforce really bad ideas like homophobia and transphobia and so forth. Like I see a lot of people, it's like, are you homophobic because you're Christian, or are you just using the Bible as a proxy to be homophobic?
this is my hot take, my personal opinion. Maybe you disagree with this because you've been religious. I was never. I was raised in an agnostic family. Maybe this is cringe. My personal opinion is that nobody actually uses religion to do anything. That everything a person would have already done, it's something that they already would have done. They just use religion to justify it. So misogyny,
Mhm.
or like the taking wives as slaves, back in the older days, or the treatment of apostates, or the treatment of immigrants, or all the things that people have used religion to justify, the Crusades, all of it. It just seems like things that would have fit into like a completely a-religious hierarchy of power differentials and control, and that
Right.
religion just makes for a convenient excuse. No one actually
Right.
uses religion to do anything. It's just a post hoc justification of things they already wanted to do.
Exactly. And I see that happen a lot, and it's really
Yeah.
fucked up, to be completely honest. I mean, I used to be like, coming from that place, I can be open about how I used to be blatantly and publicly anti-gay marriage,
Mhm.
and I would always just use religion to justify that. Um I mean, there are like way back in 2015, so this was back before I really had any like following. um I made posts. I'm not proud of it at all, but I mean I made posts like talking, like citing the Leviticus verses and talking about how like when gay marriage was just legalized, I made a post. I was like, oh, this is an abomination kind of shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Americans
um
going, straight to hell. Yeah, so
they're gonna start, what was it, people are gonna start marrying their dogs. Yeah.
I'll have it know, contrary to what some may believe, I do not support that actually. Marriage
Really.
abolition with dogs too. Dogs can marry each other though. I think. Hunter, opinions?
Dogs, yes, can marry each other as
Okay.
long as they're both white dogs and there's not like a black and a white dog marrying.
Yeah, I wouldn't want any mutts in our glorious, canine ethno state.
Okay, white canine ethno state.
I think you've more than compensated. Okay, listen, I could be misremembering here. I think you compensated for all of whatever previous homophobia you may have engaged in, because I remember seeing on Instagram, it was after you had riled up your alt-right supporters and you were goading them about having had like anal sex or something. Am I misremembering, or am I
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, you got to get on Instagram because that's where I do all my shit posts.
I follow your Instagram. I just don't do anything with Instagram. I don't use it in any way.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, no, I posted. I'll read it right here. This was back when I kind of publicly came out in. I was like, yeah, I'm pro gay now. I'm not going to pretend to be anything differently. And then I posted to everyone whining about my support for gay marriage. I just sodomized my wife, and it was great.
So confirmed then, anal sex actually does help win the culture war.
I mean, let's be honest. You said it yourself. I'm literally living more of the tradcon lifestyle than a lot of these alt-right cucks are themselves. And yes, so yes, anal sex can help win the culture war.
It's
That is
actually crazy because when you go over all of these people, like like how hard they're missing the chance to live their life. Like God Almighty. Steven Crowder, I'm pretty sure is bisexual, and I remember reading from somewhere, some reporter, someone had like confided, apparently like he sleeps with trans women. That's not to make fun of him, just like with how much he shits on trans people, you know. Blair White
Mhm.
is a self-hating trans woman, you know.
Yeah,
Sargon
I
of
know. I
Akkad,
fucking hate
I
Blair White
fucking
too,
hate
by
Blair
the
White.
way.
Fucking
I
worthless piece
used
of
to
shit.
I've gone so back, and I'll be honest too, because I want to be really transparent with this,
Mhm.
because I recognize that since I'm publicly shit talking Blair, she has the ability to post DMs of me and her where I asked her to do a collab with me not
Mhm.
that long ago. And I will be open and transparent about that because I was kind of on the fence with her. But no, her recent content, especially, it's so fucking disgusting. I hated it, actually like made me physically ill, the fact that when she was talking about the gender, like them removing the female signs off the tampon packages,
Mhm.
her rebuttal to that was, it's just kind of annoying.
No,
I'm
no, no, no.
like,
She's a horrible fucking human being. She doesn't give a fuck about trans people. The only trans
no,
person she gives a
it's not
self
even that. She doesn't give a fuck about arguments either.
or
Like,
any yeah,
I
yeah. She doesn't give a shit about anything other than being like fucking daddy conservatives, little good trans. You know, so all the followers in the YouTube comments can be like, "Oh, you're the one good one, so beautiful. You don't even look like a man." That's it. Like it's just
I know,
a slippery
and it
slide
doesn't
of
make
self
any.
hatred. Yeah.
I'm actually like, I've done some research on Blair, and she's just an all around horrible person. Like, there's actually some stuff I'm planning on releasing soon about, she apparently falsely accused someone of being a pedophile and got the person so much harassment and hate they had to like change all their social media accounts, all because Blair was just like off the cuff just calling people pedophiles or something.
Just casually thrown out. I heard about that. I don't know the details, but I did hear about that.
God, no, I
No fucking
fucking hate Blair
principles. No,
White. And
she's
what I
horrible.
really like too is like, if she takes issue with me shit talking her publicly, she can debate me, but I know she won't, because she would absolutely get decimated by me, because I actually have the ability to create arguments and argue from a position where her best arguments are like, oh, well, you don't look like a woman. You're ugly.
I debated Blair White once, and the issue was so I'm very strong in my opinion that I can sometimes do more good with amicability than I can with like harsh condemnation. It's why I'm comfortable talking to you. You're my like only fucking fave conservative. I love you, buddy. I hoped maybe um that something like that could happen with Blair White. So when I set things up with her, you know, because and
Mhm.
maybe this is sexism on my part, okay? It might actually be because I thought because Blair White's, you know, like fucking girl, and she does like the bimbo aesthetic, you know what I mean, with
Yeah.
like the big lips and stuff. So I thought like, okay, maybe this is a person I can reach across. This isn't like some crazy like Sargon type or whatever. And the conversation we had was worthless and nothing was accomplished. And then only afterwards did I find out like the extent of her sins against decency. And if I could go back and do it, I would have torn into her the entire time. I would have made her cry. I'm pretty sure I could make her cry pretty easily if I could go back, because she was unprepared for like the harsh shit, and I knew
Mhm.
it, so I tried to stay soft. I should have torn right the fuck into her. I fucking hate Blair White, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I tore
Measly
into
little
her
shit.
for when she debated Jessica Yaniv. Half the debate was just her calling Yaniv
Ugly,
ugly,
yeah, and I'm pretty. Yeah, you're ugly.
and
I'm pretty.
I was like, is this a joke? So I made a post about it. Of course, all my fans were mad at me,
Right.
which is basically just all I'm doing now is getting people mad at me. But Blair White like hit me up, and she was like, "We would be so much better as allies. Why are you criticizing me?" Blah blah blah. And I'm like, because your debate style is shit. Like, and
All she
at the
wants is the
time,
validation. That's all she gives a fuck about.
yeah, no, it's really a shame too, and it is a little bit frustrating too to just see the fact that she's so popular for putting such minimal effort into all of her content. Like, she makes the most basic cliche shit videos, and then she's like getting like like hundreds of thousands to millions of views on every video. I'm like, good for her. Like, you know, it's always like it's nice to see someone achieve like a high level of YouTube success, but it's like, at what cost? You're just regurgitating what people want you to hear. And I think that Blair, to be honest, I think
Yeah.
Blair White is the type of person who is a complete grifter. I don't think she
Mhm.
has any fucking principles. And that's been made really apparent too by the fact that she like when she was debating Shapiro, she was all like, oh, well, pronouns are about utility. We should use pronouns because it makes more sense, blah, 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 blah. But then when she did a video on Yaniv and was respecting Yaniv's pronouns, she cut in with like this like half-assed recorded thing where she was like, hey guys, I know people are going to be mad that I'm using the preferred pronouns, but I'm just doing that so I don't get in trouble with YouTube. It's like she doesn't believe
No, she
anything
doesn't.
that she says.
She cares about the utility of pronoun usage when it refers to her. The only solace that I can get from Blair White as a person is the knowledge that she's fucking miserable. She seems like the type of trans girl to like go to bars to like hit up like transphobic straight dudes because the validation of getting fucked by a straight dude, even if like the straight dude like thinks she's disgusting, is like the what gets off in her head. I know this type of person. There's a severe insecurity that can be for some people that can only be quenched with the validation of those you would expect to be hated by, and I think that's her entire YouTube career.
I don't even know if she realizes it. I don't know if she's like conscious about the fact that she's a grifter or if she's just doing purely what's getting her money and views. I don't really know. I don't really care. I just know that she doesn't believe anything she says. And her whole you're right, her whole shtick is basically just being like the bimbo trans type. She's also like, if you watch any of these sort of like Jeffree Star type YouTubers, she's very obviously trying to be like the yes queen type.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so fucking cringy because it feels super fake when she does it.
I've got the tea and I'm gonna spill it. Yeah. The aesthetic, you know. We can talk with her about cultural appropriation later, I suppose. But the
hey, you know, something. Sorry to interrupt you. Something I would like to bring up if you get a chance. I've seen someone in the chat saying it's from the snarky lesbian, saying, "Has Hunter Avallone really changed because YouTube content is still really toxic looking?" I would just like to address that comment and say, before you judge based purely on like titles, then you should actually watch the videos, because you have to remember that I'm considering myself a free thinker at this point, which means I don't really align fully with the right or the left personally. So my content might look similar to the content I used to make.
Also,
but a lot of the material is a lot different and heavily improved. For example, like my video on incels, I used that video actually as a proxy to sort of introduce the concept of toxic masculinity without ever saying toxic masculinity.
Yeah, I also want to point out to my followers, like, please do keep in mind like whose stream you're currently watching. I have streams titled "Raging Out Over White Feminism," "Reeing at Femoids," destroying black like Nick Fuentes is gay out of the closet. We need to stop with the Mayo side joke. Like the way you couch a video, and I have multiple videos like making fun of like feminists here, like liberal feminists. The way you couch like a video's content in like in a given title or in a certain way can have a huge impact on the way in which people approach it, the way they perceive it initially. And if your goal is to introduce people who are not typically accustomed to a given argument to that argument in a way that will make them amicable towards it, sometimes a juxtaposition between the tone of the title and the tone of the video is necessary. And I've seen Hunter's newer videos, and I completely agree with the way in which he pursues this. And I very much like it.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, if you saw a video by me called "Truth About People," that certainly sounds very offensive. But then watching it, it was an extensive debunking of race science. So a lot of the stuff comes off kind of like that edgy clickbait style, but I'm presenting different ideas. And a lot of the thing, like something I wanted to talk about is I know that you are aware of my like recent switch on the gender issue.
Yeah, no, hit me up. With regards to trans people or
well, yeah, like I was kind of already coming around to the concept of trans people. For a little while, I was like, it kind of went like this. I was like, completely anti-trans way back, like when I did the Truth About Transgenders video, which
Mhm.
I have deleted that video. I no longer stand by that.
Oh, by the way, huge props to that, by the way. Deleting videos you no longer agree with is such a fucking power move. Most people don't do that. I really respect that. I just want to say.
Well, to be honest, I mean, I'm not here to like, jerk up myself off on
No,
your
no,
stream
I'll
or
jerk you off.
anything,
That's a freebie for me. That
well,
one's for
thank
me.
you.
You can leave that one.
Yeah, I've deleted actually over now I'll be honest, I did have a little bit of stuff to gain here is YouTube cracked down on some of their rules. So part of that I did go through and purge some of my content, but I also my most recent purge, I purged videos that I thought could be on the line, but also videos that I no longer agree with. So over
Anyone here?
the course of last year, I've deleted roughly like 20 million views on my channel of content that I no longer like or stand by. The biggest video I deleted was answers for gay people, where I really don't like the approach I took with that any longer.
I remember that one. That was a
yeah, I deleted
classic.
that one. That video was my second most viewed video. Like that video had almost 3 million hits. So the thing is like I'm not gonna keep videos up that I no longer agree with. And the reason for this, and this is kind of what I wanted to get into, even like going back to my shift on like my change of opinion on gender and everything,
Mhm.
it's because my channel, I never created my channel to make money. My channel never existed for me to make money, or like, of course I want to get views, but my channel never existed for me to purely get views. I created my channel because I had really strong opinions about a lot of different things, and I wanted somewhere that I could authentically share my beliefs. So what I've been telling to some of my fans who are really upset with my recent sort of change is if I'm kind of backed into a corner, if I'm no longer able to express my authentic beliefs, then my channel's lost all purpose. I don't exist on YouTube to share right-leaning talking points or left-leaning talking points. I exist on YouTube to share what I believe, and I back up my beliefs on data. So
No,
the whole thing.
I need to say, by the way, like that's an incredibly respectable position, and I relate to it quite a bit. I feel like, and this is something that I've struggled with in the lefty sphere as well. So obviously, in my personal opinion, I think the lefty sphere of politics on YouTube, is far and away quite a bit healthier than the conservative space. My bias showing, of course, but even with that being the case, I often feel like sometimes lefty types, especially on YouTube, will make a decision after kind of checking in with the group to make sure it's like the right opinion to have. So sometimes people will they'll adopt like wildly irrational positions, and they'll push for it, and they'll push for it, and they'll push for it in spite of contrary evidence. And it happens in waves across the communities of left-leaning content creators, and it can be very, very frustrating because I like the authenticity of having a channel. It's so cool that we get to do this, Hunter. I mean,
right.
You've been doing this.
It really is
Longer than I have. You know better than I do. Any other medium in the history of the existence of mass media would have censored both of us. We can't do what we do on TV. Not the way we do it, at least. We can do a watered down version, maybe. We can't do this on TV. We can't do this on radio. We could write books, I guess. Sure. But this is really special. And to compromise the authenticity of the medium is, I think you're doing yourself a disservice more than anyone else.
How so? Oh yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. I mean, I can't I've tried before to, well, no, I guess no, I really haven't. I mean, I've always tried to stick with what I authentically believe, which is a blessing and a curse, because at the flip side, a lot of the shit that I said in the past, it's kind of disheartening to know that I like truly believe that, but at least I'm able to acknowledge that, it was bullshit, and that now my views are different. So like, I used to be just completely, trans people are gross, they're weird, they're just degenerate. Like, I wouldn't really say degenerate. I kind of used to think trans people were just batshit insane, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that also just came from like a complete lack of understanding that like of the difference between sex and gender. And also, I think that you would be the first one to agree with this. The left isn't always the best representation of their ideas.
I think I can reasonably say that. There are a lot of really bad advocates for trans people out there.
Yeah, and I think that and see, a lot of times people see my content where I still can be critical of the LGBT community, and they think, oh, Hunter's just still the transphobe. He still hates trans people. He's not different or anything. But that's because I think there are some very serious flaws in the LGBT community still, and the biggest one being the LGBT community and sort of the left surrounding the LGBT community can be really dogmatic, where they sort of how dare you even question this? Just believe, this is what I've said. You respect me if I say respect me. A lot of the times, especially if you're in more of a right-leaning environment and you're already skeptical of this stuff, to have it just sort of, I hate to use the shove down your throat thing, but to have it just sort of believe it or else.
No. I think that's fair. Yeah. So, and there's an important distinction to make. Gay people aren't being shoved down anyone's throat. Some people like to say that, they see
I used to say that shit. So
yeah. They watch a Kroger's commercial where two dudes in Christmas sweaters share a cup of coffee together while one of their arms is wrapped around the other's. The gays are shoved down my throat. That's ridiculous, of course. But there are unquestionably some advocates for the LGBT community who are, and this is one of the worst holdovers from the Tumblr era of left-leaning political advocacy, the "you aren't entitled to my explanation" era.
I hate that.
Yeah. So on one hand, I get it. Explaining things all the time is exhausting. A lot of trans people get asked questions all the time. I get that. Whatever. Take care of yourself. But if you're doing political advocacy, it actually is your job, as a matter of fact, to explain things to people. And we had this wave of people who simultaneously believed it was bigoted to not support LGBT rights. Well, yeah, sure. Cool. But also believed that to deign to explain why one should support LGBT rights is an indignity to their humanity. So we get,
which is so wrong,
the worst possible advocates, because a lot of people who are anti-LGBT really do operate on misconception. A lot of them really are just scared or a little grossed out or whatever. But abject hatred, in my experience, is fairly rare. I think convincing can do a lot of work.
Right, and I think you're right on with that. I do think that a lot of people, their dislike for trans people does come from not only a lack of understanding, but also because their main experience with trans people is much more so the dogmatic sort of LGBT advocates rather than just your casual trans person
I encounter them.
Their life.
And I encounter them all the time too. The worst experience I ever had. So really quickly, I don't know. Did you ever hear about my Thought Slime meltdown stream by chance? Just through the grapevine.
I don't think so.
Okay, that's probably for the best. The gist of it is I got in a kerfuffle online, and what really kicked things off for me, what really flipped my switch, is I was arguing on Twitter about my opinion on gender abolition, just gender issues. Why do I have my opinion? Sometimes it's out of line with maybe, I guess, the hegemonic idea of how we should be pursuing gender parity in the world. I don't know. I have my opinions. And there was one particular person on Twitter who was I spent 2 hours. I stayed up late talking to them, and they were incessant. They would reply the moment I replied. They were very engaged in this, and they only had one thing to say, and it was that as a cis person, I don't get to have an opinion on this. Over and over, they would say, you should listen to the trans people on this issue. And I would respond, correctly. I could go on my Discord right now and find 400 trans people who agree with me. Can you dredge up 400 trans people? And they're like, listen. No. It's not about your fans. It's about you. You should listen to trans people. This went on for 2 hours, and it infuriated me so much that the next day I streamed and yelled at people for 4 hours, and I lost a lot of friends. But there are a lot of people like this. And
Right.
it's a huge
And
detriment. And we
that
give
is identity
ground.
politics,
It
though.
is, and we give ground to hatred and to bigotry when we don't even put a facsimile of an effort up to meaningfully argue against it. You know?
Right, right. And the thing is a lot of the time, like something that I'm really trying to do is, I mean, yeah, I use my Instagram for like shit talking. So if you're looking for good arguments, I wouldn't recommend going to my Instagram. But if I were ever going to like debate anybody or anything that I talk about on my YouTube, especially, I try to explain explain the concept of transgenderism from the position, like I really do understand what it's like to at one point think trans people are like disgusting attention seekers who are just like delusional and need help,
Mm-hmm.
to go from that to going from like, yeah, I'm fine with trans people and I'm fine with like respecting pronouns and whatnot. And that takes a lot of time. That's like a big shift. I get that. But that's why a lot of the times when I discuss these issues now on my channel, I'm trying to take the approach of like, how would I explain this to me a few years ago?
Yeah, yeah, and I think that too. How can I create arguments that would have appealed to edgy 15-year-old libertarian Vosh? You know,
Right.
right? 'Cause nobody was born this way. You know, to my knowledge, I should really quickly to address concerns in chat because we're talking about the LGBT community. Just to confirm, you are straight, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Much to the disappointment I know of many of you.
I'm sorry, Vosh. I know that was really you. You were probably just asking yourself.
Yeah,
But
no one in chat brought. I was just like, oh shit, I gotta find an excuse. Chat's moving quickly. No one will notice. Nobody asked.
there you go.
Yeah, it's um with regards not we notice things. Shut the fuck up. With regards not to that, but sort of broadly towards the LGBT community. So I agree there are issues with it, but with trans people, and trans people come up a lot with in online political discourse these days, I think, because they're kind of like a litmus test for how progressive a person is, even though admittedly it's relatively like small issue compared to broader, you know, political issues.
Right.
Racism,
Right.
you know, broader sexism. There aren't many trans people, at least relative to the general population, but it comes up a lot, and I get why it does, because they're like the canary in the coal mine. If a person is pro-trans, they're probably anti-racism, anti-sexism, so on and so forth. It's like you're already everything, you know, further over if you're pro-trans. What led you, I guess, to start to reconsider some of your positions on trans people?
Well, you definitely played probably the biggest role in that, to be completely honest.
Oh, thank
Because
you.
yeah, I know you just wanted to hear me say it, but what happened was you actually got me in like a really good time for our first debate. And I know we kind of chatted privately. I kind of explained this, but I'll explain it for the viewers too.
Yeah, please.
Basically, what happened was, I mean, you know, we had me and my then girlfriend got pregnant unplanned. I've gone into talked a little bit about this too on my channel, so
Yeah.
don't get too excited, guys. I'm not giving you that much of an inside scoop, but
No pics of the process?
no pics of the process. But it was a very, very stressful time, as you can imagine. I mean, for me, like having a child at the age of 22, 23 was like the furthest thing from anything I could even conceivably want for myself at the time. So like when we found out that we were pregnant, I'll be honest, I did not react with even an ounce of like maturity or dignity. I like lost my shit because for me, I was like, this is the furthest thing from what I wanted.
Yeah.
Right. And so this was a very long, very stressful process. It led to a lot of very bad decisions on my part, which basically led me to break up with my girlfriend. Huge mess, huge disaster. And it was a terrible mistake. Basically, it was a long, long process, but we then had the baby and things really started turning around for me. I realized how wrong I was to end my relationship with Carissa, which thankfully we are now married and everything is okay. But it was just a big mess. And having a baby, having Rose turn out to be hands down the best thing that's like ever happened to me. I mean, I talk to Chris about it all the time that like I am so, and there's a saying, it's very cheesy. Speaking of Tumblr, cheesy little Tumblr quote,
hit it
but
up,
I
hit
really,
it up.
it was, I'm so glad I didn't get what I thought I wanted. And that's kind of what happened with me is when you challenged me to the debate was right around the time where I realized I was like, I'm still in love with Carissa and having a baby is absolutely amazing. And I've made a mistake to have broken up with her and we need to get back together, basically. So that was the first. I mean, for months and months and months on end, I had convinced myself that having a baby wasn't what I wanted. This was a disaster for me, and that the best move was to break up and try and like make amends, not being in a relationship. And it was just a huge stressful decision. I didn't know what to do, but I had convinced myself that this was the right decision. And it turned out not only to be the wrong decision, but to be like catastrophically incorrect. It's to the point where like I didn't have a choice but to reflect what else in my life have I been completely wrong about, because I was so confident that breaking up that was the right decision, and that turned out to be the worst fucking decision I've ever made. So that kind of led me to start thinking, and even though it wasn't really, it was much more subconscious, but it definitely forced me to start reconsidering, like, I was so wrong on this. What else am I so wrong on? And that was around the same time that you were kind of like getting kind of big on YouTube. You had done a couple videos on my older content.
Yes,
so
I was yelling at you impotently from across the, you know, the YouTube wilderness.
Right. And it's actually funny too. So like Carissa has always been a little bit more of like, I wouldn't even call her a liberal. I would call her like center to left more so. Like, so she's always been a little bit more like left, like she's had more of like a left leaning approach on things. So what I did, and this is when me and Carissa, we were still like apart, but it was obviously moving back into a good direction. I sent her the videos you made on me. And I was like, you need to watch this. We got to figure out how to do a response to this. And she was watching it. And basically by like the mid to the end, she would text me like, are you sure you don't want to remove this video, Hunter? Because she was basically like, she was like, Vosh is making some pretty good points here. And so that's basically, I then challenged you to respond to some of my newer content, which my newer content was still pretty bad. And that all led to us debating. And then I admit that I lost that debate when we debated.
By the way, one of the best I've ever had. It's a shame. I have to say, it's a shame for me to peak early, because the degenerates that I have been arguing with in the 6 months since then have I am missing the good old days, Hunter. I will not lie.
Yeah, no, I understand. But after that debate, it just sort of left me in a place where I was like, what do? I can't just ignore data that I've seen that kind of contradicts my viewpoints, but also I'm sort of like famous for being conservative. So I was like, what do I do? Basically, at that point, from that point on, I just started watching your content more. And I watched the first video I watched from you was you responding to Red Ice TV, which was honestly a really good starting point for me, because I was able to see very quickly, okay, this is something I don't align with. I don't like this whole whites, like the whites are superior approach that they were taking. And I was picking up on the nuance too. I was like, yeah, this is actually kind of fucked up. So from that point on, I did more research. I did continue to watch your content, and there are still some things that I don't agree with you on.
I don't doubt it. I'm farther to the left than a lot of left-leaning people are comfortable with. That's probably a good thing, honestly.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing is like, you know, I always want to continue to form my own opinions based on, you know, what I have researched. But it was just, it's basically just all last year. I was kind of just transitioning. You know, no pun intended.
No, we know. Don't worry.
But yeah, I mean that just kind of really like jump started the push and made me start really analyzing some of the opinions I held. And it was funny too, because you said some shit that I at the time was like, yeah, this fucking liberal doesn't know anything. You told me that I've probably cultivated a lot of bigotry that I would be uncomfortable with. And at first I didn't really believe that, but honestly, especially after I had my really public like falling out with the alt-right, that became so apparent to me. And part of me, like, this sounds a little sappy and a little cheesy, especially if some of my fans are watching. They're probably gonna be like, "Oh my god," but part of me did feel a little guilty because I was like, I never fully went down the Nazi path, thank God. But I was definitely really close on a few positions, which I would actually like to talk to you about that on the stream too. But after I saw the response to my videos and people who were like, I used to be a fan of yours, Hunter, but the Jews have you now, or something. I was like, what have I like created? What have I cultivated? And I don't think that I was necessarily, I don't want to go as far as to say I was radicalizing people to be alt-right, but I think that I was, for a long time, creating a bit of a safe space for people like that to sort of hang out and feel comfortable.
Yeah,
And
I will say, so this happens a lot in left-leaning circles too, not with the alt-right, but of like differing tiers of radicalization, you know, where sometimes a like liberal left person will make a video where they say something critical of like Stalin, and then people in their community will rile up and be like, whoa, 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 lib, hey, whoa, keep your hands off Stalin, daddy. Now, you know, of course, I'm not trying to compare Stalin to Nazis or whatever. I'm just saying, like, I don't think you created like an alt-right community. It's more that sometimes there are ideological blind spots where they can slip in, you know? And this is one of the things that I told Blair White as well, because Blair White would make the argument that she was trying to foster like trans positivity in the community, and my counter argument was like, no, you're the opposite. Actually, you're the one trans woman they can go say, hey, I guess he's cute, you know, all right, cool, I guess, whatever, you know, at least he's doing what we like, and then run off and go back to whatever other shit they were watching.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and again, you're nowhere near. At no point did you even come close to touching Blair White in terms of like genuine awfulness. But
I don't know. There were definitely a few hot takes.
The thing is, but Blair White's really bad. I really fucking hate her. I hate her like nobody else online. It's crazy.
Honestly, I'm pretty close to you with that. I think Blair White and Steven Crowder are both some of my like least favorite people ever to ever exist. But
how did you, because I really want to talk about this, because so much of my channel is dedicated to anti-alt-right stuff, which by the way, I need to make this super fucking clear, bores the shit out of me. I've done every Nazi argument, every one of them. They're all bad. Of course they're bad. All the arguments that the Nazi Party laid out back during the Weimar Republic were universally mocked by the liberal establishment back then too. They didn't have good arguments back then. They don't now. Yeah. It's just the hatred sort of coalesces into political efficacy. And so on and so on. But so I'm so bored of that. But I'm really interested how you kind of came to be aware of their like existence and prominence in the right, or to the extent to which they were in the community that you had created. What happened there? Like, what was the turning point?
Wait, when did I realize that who was in the community? Blair?
That not that you had like created a bunch of alt-righters, but what was your relationship with them, sort of going from not really addressing or acknowledging their existence to the position you're in now, where they actively despise you and you're helping them lose the culture war, and you're controlled by the Jews and what have you, you know?
Right. Well, the turning, I'm not sure if there was ever like one specific turning point, but it did start to a degree because thanks to watching some of your videos, and also I always loved watching your debates with the Nazis and shit. I not only saw just how shit their arguments were, but I also started to be aware of like the real harm that Nazi ideology inflicts on people. And I also started to notice like the prevalence of it. So, you know, for like everyone tells you like the alt-right, like, well, everyone right tells you that the alt-right isn't really real, or that it's just a made up thing. And I never really thought that it was or not. Like the thing is it's actually funny now because you can go back, even back like last, 2018 to beginning of 2019 when I was still pretty strictly like, right leaning, reactionary, whatever you want to call it. I was still getting shit on by the alt right even then, because I would still say that like the alt right's disgusting, the idea of ethno states is wrong, but I would mostly just kind of bring it up because I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to be called alt-right. And I wasn't alt-right. I didn't identify myself that way. I didn't identify with those ideas even.
Yeah.
But I would mostly just sort of shit on the alt-right when it was sort of convenient for me to not look like one myself.
They're just mad because you're living the TradCon dream now, you know?
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
their current
I'm
poster
literally
child, Fuentes, the Capoe connoisseur, has never apparently touched a woman. He said, no woman until the woman I'm going to get married to. That's a classic excuse. You're the ivory tower on the hill, honestly.
I know, and it's funny too because you did that video where you went over some of the memes about like TradCon girls or whatever, and you were reading the one, and I literally was like laughing to myself because it sounded so much like Carissa, like the woman stays home with the kids. Well, but like after we had our baby, we decided that Carissa would be a stay-at-home mom, and I could like support us on my income and everything. So yeah, no, it is funny. I think that it's especially sweet to rub that in the alt-right's face because they're always talking about we should be more traditional, but then they hate me, and I'm like, I'm buying a house, I'm married, and I have one boy and one girl, and we're all white. So what's wrong with me?
All their fucking people do this. Lauren Southern will talk about how girls need to settle down and find a man young and not focus too much on career. Where is Lauren Southern's kid? Where is Lauren Southern's pursuing a career, Sargon is raising another man's child, has an adopted daughter, a black adopted daughter, if I recall correctly, or mixed race. Again, not bad from my perspective. I'm not judging these things. I'm just saying, like, maybe practice what you preach. God help me. Right. What a better world it would be if all of the fucking female alt-right dipshits out there took their own advice and shut the fuck up and went and found a dick to ride.
Just stay in the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly.
The only time it's okay to tell a woman to just go in the kitchen.
Please take your own fucking advice. Go away.
I know. But no, I honestly don't think there was ever like one big turning point, but I think that the biggest turning point for me was when I went out with the censorship thing, and from that point on, I just couldn't believe like the amount of literal it sounds. And the thing is I do think that the left overuses the term Nazi a little bit. I don't think that it should be thrown out the way it is because it has gotten to the point where like sometimes people on the right get called Nazis, and it's like they're just not Nazis. They might just be like a dumb Republican, and I think that can do some damage.
Sorry, please.
No. I just think that I was really shocked by how many legitimate Nazis were in my fan base, and even the fact that like after I did the censorship thing, I was getting dissed by like the Daily Stormer. So I'm like, I guess I'm doing something right, because I'm getting shit on by the Daily Stormer, but then I'm also like losing literally thousands upon thousands of subscribers. So I'm like, what am I doing?
Which is fucking wild, right? Like they're like barnacles at the bottom of your content boat, Like how many of them were?
It's like it's too weird too, because I never would really see them even until it's not until you piss them off that they all come out of the woodwork once. And they're like, you're a degenerate, you support gays, you're so stupid, you're not conservative, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, where were you guys for like the last like year and a half? When
passively enjoying your videos critiquing the LGBTQ community,
I know, yeah. Well, I'm also seeing some comments too. I kind of have been address some of these comments. I'm seeing comments.
Please yell at my chat all you want. I encourage you to. I hate them. Go for it.
No, I'm not going to yell at your chat. They've actually been, but just to wrap up what I was saying, yeah, with Infinity, I guess, is that your username? Yeah, losing Nazi followers, it was a good thing. And to be honest, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to purge my audience of the far right people, because I was like, I know, not only do I no longer, even remotely come close to this sort of thought process. I actually fucking hate these people, and I think that they're stupid and degenerate. And I found myself starting to have that same passion about like detesting a political side that I used to feel towards the left. I felt that same fire, that same passion all over again, but this time it was towards like the far right. And I don't know. I think that it was a long process. But for the people wondering why I'm still shitting on feminism, um, that's an interesting conversation, and I'm kind of actually, I think I'm down to talk about that. But the feminism thing, okay, let me go look here. So feminism for me, and Vosh, feel free to call me out on this.
No, go ahead.
Feminism for me, the type of feminism that I critique is much more of like what feminism has become, which I think that feminism has obviously, yeah, the definition, men and women being equal. That all sounds great to me. I stand for that. That's why I really prefer to call myself, I guess, an egalitarian. But I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm curious what your take is on this. I feel like feminism has largely become more of like almost a brand, if that's a good way to put it. And I think that feminism, it's no longer like fighting for women's equality as much as it's just like, you know, feminism TM. Look, guys, a feminist movie. It's pro woman because it's has women in it. I guess I don't know. Maybe that's not really articulated very properly.
No.
But
You're articulating it perfectly, and there's actually a term for what you're describing. It's called liberal feminism, but the derogatory term is pop feminism.
Okay.
I don't disagree with what you're saying at all. It's mostly a holdover from second wave feminist movements. Do you mind if I ramble for a hot sec?
Not at all. No, I've heard you talk a lot about stuff too. I actually did a video not too long.
Hell yeah. So back in the 1960s, we had the second feminist wave movement, birth control, women getting into the workforce, blah, blah, great, cool. But it was heavily, what would you call it, exclusionary in certain respects. It was very, very, very much focused on the relationship between men and women, but it didn't have much in the way of like analyzing the way race or class intersects with that. Not so much poor women, not so much black women, mostly middle-class white women or up. And cool, whatever, progress is progress. But the issue is that nowadays, the holdover from that position, now in an era where the divide between men and women is much more narrow than it was then, which I think most people could agree is the case. The holdover is all that fire and passion, which was originally directed against very, very direct, very overt sexism that can be very clearly analyzed and dissected without regarding class or racial lines. That doesn't really happen as much anymore. There's a reason why when you see shows like Mad Men, and you have like the archetypical, like the sexist workplace environment where like the hot secretary with the enormous tits gets kind of like flirted with, and like sometimes her back gets like rubbed weirdly or all that, and we still showcase that in media because it's representative of the enemy of the old dichotomy, the villain of second wave feminism. But now the consequence of that mentality kind of sort of maybe a little smidgen kind of leads to man hating a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Because an invariable consequence of challenging the relationship between men and women from a feminist perspective without being willing to address it intersectionally means you're going to view men as an antagonist rather than a complicit component in a broader sort of superstructure. Intersectional feminism is all about recognizing that the relationship between men and women is just part of a huge tapestry of oppressive and repressive systems, race, gender, class, sexuality, everything. And for that reason, it needs to be looked at sort of in the context that in which it exists. Like, for example, and I know I'm rambling crazy, but I just want to cap off the
No, don't worry about
thing. So so here's a really classic example here. So one of the tenets of second wave feminism was addressing the threat men physically pose to women, because men are generally speaking much stronger, and that is a real natural inequality that can be addressed through policy, and through socialization. But if all of your feminist rhetoric is about protecting the weak woman from the big, strong penis having man, what happens when you add in trans issues? Now, any intersectional feminist will say trans women, trans women just want to be left alone, let them live their lives, blah, blah. But if you're a non-intersectional pop feminist, you might see trans women as men who are trying to get in on the sacred private spaces of real women. And then like, holy shit, feminism is now complicit in creating a new system of oppression. And that's just one of the many ways in which these two sort of intersect. I fucking hate pop feminism. I hate brand feminism. I barely even
and so
call
a lot of
myself
like
feminist
a lot of
anymore.
my recent content also, it's not really critiquing feminism. It's more critiquing like my video from a week ago that I'm sure people are referred to is I did when feminists do stand-up comedy. And I just talked about how like trying to do like a political or feminist spin on comedy can sometimes not really work.
Are we talking
But
about like the routines where it's all like tampon jokes and like men this, men that? Like
yeah,
it's
the like
all
the
really
vagina,
reductive.
men don't understand women kind of thing, like just that kind of shit. And I mean, I know that I have a history too for like actually like just shitting hardcore on feminism in general. But I've kind of always stood by the what I am attacking is more what I've seen feminism become, which is largely anti-men. And that's what I used when I did my video on TERFs from a few months ago. I sort of talked about how these TERFs are fucking like terrible, but I took the approach of like they hate from how much they hate men and how that leads them to also just hating like they think trans people aren't, you know, women.
Right, they hate
so
men
they
because
hate
big
them.
penis, you know, the threatening phallus. So they transpose that, onto the
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And it's funny too because the video is called "Introduce Fifth Wave Feminism." I was trying to like call it something funny to get clicks, and
yeah.
I saw someone on Twitter. They're like, "Hunter's still talking about feminism. If he really cared, he would be talking about TERFs." And I was like, maybe you should actually watch the video because that's literally what the content was on.
But that is the genius of marketing your videos that way too, because so if you're gonna be listen, everyone loves to shit on feminists. Like, this is like an American pastime, as far as I'm concerned. And the way you market that can really be like a Trojan horse for some ideas. You can say like, hey, anti-feminist, whatever, haha, feminist, dumb. Look at this. This is stupid. Look at this, pussy jokes all the time. But what you're selling isn't really anti-feminism. It's anti this highly sort of derivative, degenerated mockery of the goal of feminism, which is to promote gender equity, you know?
Right. And that's exactly what it's kind of become in a lot of ways. Like, I mean, you know, I think that this is kind of using the feminism thing to segue into another subject, but I kind of think, you know how like I know you've criticized this too, how a lot of people who sort of got their start on being anti-feminist have gone to be like full-blown like fascists or neo-Nazis now.
Mostly because of Sargon of Akkad. I think he's more responsible for that than anything else. He is like
I think
one man like trough for like alt light, you know, sort of delivery. It's actually crazy how much harm he's done.
Right. I also think a lot of that just comes from the fact that a lot of people, and I was among these people too, in the sense that like getting on YouTube, I can say this from experience because I literally my channel blew up because of my like anti-feminist content back in like when like Shoe on Head was blowing up around the same time as me and everything. And try to articulate this properly. I think that a lot of people, the reason they've sort of gone down this path is because they've built their entire brand on just like wrecking the liberals. And so even if it's like a neo-Nazi, but you know, they're like, well, they're a neo-Nazi, but they're also triggering
But they
the
are
liberals.
owning the lib. On one hand, they do believe the Jews are complicit in destroying the white race, but on the other hand, the libs are getting owned. Yeah, it's a really tough, you know, choice to make there.
Right. And it's kind of like I think that a lot of people they jumped on the bandwagon and they didn't really have that many principles to begin with. And admittedly, I was one of those people. I didn't really have principles. I just had opinions. And you sort of hop on, you're like, yeah, feminists suck. Oh, and trans people are stupid also. And then next thing you know, he's kind of just leads you down to like a bad path, I guess, down a dark road.
This is
I'm just.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
This is why this has become very, very important to me. I am no longer interested in channels or people, or including myself, who are exclusively interested in critiquing other positions, because you can hide some really dirty shit if that's all you do. You have to make prescriptive judgments too. Because all of these channels that lead people down the road, Sargon of Akkad, who in my last debate with him promoted ethno-nationalism, spent years doing nothing but like making fun of like cringe feminists or what have you. No bullshit, no bullshit.
Yes,
Yeah,
I do.
No bullshit's a neo-Nazi. There are leaked logs of him talking about Holocaust denialism and how the Jews are they got kicked out of a bunch of countries in Europe. Hey, maybe something's on. He's a neo-Nazi. But if you look at his videos, you could mistake him just for somebody who aggressively critiques, I guess, anytime a woman or a black person is in any form of media whatsoever. But because he doesn't,
which I'll be honest, that's for me, that's the saddest one, because as I've become more like to recognizing a lot of the talking points that people who hold more radical positions use, I've definitely realized that a lot of people who like I used to associate with are like really fucking gross. And for me, no bullshit, I'll be honest, that was the toughest one for me that's the hardest pill for me to swallow, because some of these other people, like, I don't know. I don't really know if Roaming Millennial or Lauren Chen is like a neo-Nazi, or if she's like,
I think she's a fascist. I don't think she's bitten down on the JQ just yet. I could be wrong.
All I know is like, no bullshit was literally, and this probably makes me look kind of bad, like, he was one of my only real friends that I made on YouTube. Like, when he lives in California, so when I would be down there for events, like, we would hang out together and like smoke weed together and shit. And so coming to the realization that he is kind of like a radical, it's definitely been the most disappointing. Like the rest of them, like Blair White, I don't think she's a fucking neo-Nazi, but realizing that she's just a fucking degenerate, that was definitely easy for me to kind of accept, because I kind of already could see it happening. But with no bullshit, that was definitely a little bit of a bummer. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I get it, and because I experienced similar things with other people. Without getting into the dredges or anything, because it's been a while since I was right-leaning or whatever. But there are people who it's very convenient to like them, and there are certain elements of their content you like, but then one day you hear something, or the mask slips or something like that, and you think like, oh God. Right. Oh geez. Like,
and that's kind of like what what happened was, I think you showed the clip where he was like, white people are dominating because we're better and stronger and smarter than everyone else. I feel like that was kind of a mask slip.
Yeah, that was probably not.
Like, that was a little like, oh shit.
I can't believe so if the bridge is burnt there, I think I'm fair to say this. You can agree or disagree if you want. No BS is such an unbelievably stupid motherfucker. It is so offensive to me how many YouTube subscribers he has. It's like an insult to me personally.
That's a little how I feel about Blair.
I will never have as many YouTube subs as either of those people. I know this, so all I can do is cross my fingers and hope they both have psychotic breakdowns and start posting Nazi screeds so YouTube deletes their channel. And then I will have more
that's
subs.
Literally. By the way, just to give you some hope, that's not actually true at all. You're growing pretty quick. I mean, how many subs are you at now?
It's like 53K or something like that.
Yeah,
it's been pretty good.
Is that just in 1 year?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, for some context, I streamed with no bullshit way back, back in the day. And I streamed with no bullshit when I think he was at like 30 or 40K. So
Jesus, I can't even imagine.
I mean, when I first found Blair White's channel, she had 20,000 subs, and we were neck and neck with subs.
Yeah, so you were in this like way before I was. So yeah, you were in on like the ground for some of these channels.
Yeah, and it's also just weird being in kind of the position where I'm at too. Like a lot of these people, like I know them personally. Like I've been to Blair White's house. I've hung out in her apartment with her and like drank. So like it's weird sort of just like real like having a new, I guess, dislike for these people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just it's definitely a weird
How does
position
it
to be in.
feel having principles?
I used to not have principles, and I think I'm still figuring shit out, but it definitely feels better than being a fucking grifter. And
You always. I mean, okay, so like you know yourself better than I do. I always, when I saw your content or talked to you, I knew there was respectability there. There's something. I'm
well,
not like an
I
especially
always
good.
try to be really, I always try to be really authentic,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like,
yeah. That's so fucking important because you get, and so I'm a huge Birdie fan, of course. You
mhm,
get the alternative to that. You know, when you compromise authenticity, usually it's like in a corporate sense, like you're beholden to the interests of your network or your benefactors or what have you.
mhm,
And you're for that reason, if you say something, I don't know if you actually believe that with like Tucker Carlson or Bill O'Reilly before he lost his show, that sort
mhm,
of stuff, you know.
yeah,
And then with a lot of YouTube, it's like grifty stuff, which is like not based in professionalism, but rather just trying to make as much money you can off ad revenue. But the authenticity is like the key
mhm.
to at least for me to feeling like I can have a productive conversation with somebody. I was actually really taken aback when you and I did finally talk, not from the debate itself, but from the short convo we had beforehand, because you were actually like friendly. It was actually really cool.
Well, yeah, and I I get it because like my videos, I'm definitely a lot more condescending in in them. But I mean, you gotta be entertaining. Also, I do try to do like I try to talk passionately about what I'm passionate about. I try to be chill when it's something that's not that important to me. But yeah, I think a lot of people are expecting me to be kind of an asshole 24/7 when I'm really only an asshole when I need to be. You know.
Civility, I think, is important, at least in private, amongst political actors, because it sets the stage for a positive, for an assumption of positive engagement, which is important.
There's
Because
just
sometimes I
there's a
just assume it's going to be a shit show, and I just go in like with my arms out, you know.
there's a time and a place to be an asshole, and like usually what I try to do is I just wait until someone makes the first assholery move, and then I just try to one up them. But like obviously there's going to be conversations where you want to be like as calm and understanding as possible. Like I was having a conversation with a family member, I'm not going to say who,
Hmm.
but just know as a family member I'm very close with, and they were talking about they were like, yeah, we were watching this show, and then there was like a gay kiss or a lesbian kiss or something, and it just seems like they're always putting it in the media or whatever. And obviously, old me would have been like, yeah, but now I was like, no, I don't really agree with that. So, um, I just, I was like, well, there's nothing unusual about gay people
Right.
kissing. So, like, how is that different when like straight people kiss in kids shows all the time? And that would obviously have been a good example of when it wouldn't have been a time to be an asshole. Um,
Right. Yeah.
so I mean that's obviously pretty fucking obvious, but that talk actually led to being really, really productive. And I was able to then use that to kind of segue into like the idea of trans people and how like man and woman is really nothing more than a form of identification, um, and how when you separate that from sexual characteristics, it makes a lot more sense, and how it's always been historically, yada yada yada, whatever. It turned out
Yeah.
to be like this really long, very productive conversation, and afterwards, I could tell that my family member was actually like truly impacted by it, and it was obvious that they were kind of reconsidering some of the opinions they had as well.
That's
So
one of the things that heartens me the most about doing any kind of political engagement. I personally feel like I do fucking nothing. I get on camera and people watch me scream like a chimp for 4 hours a day. And then I like run off home and eat a burrito, you know. But the knowledge, the idea of like these interpersonal conversations,
mhm.
where you're able to like do on the ground work. I don't do that. I don't ever leave my house or talk to anyone. But it's really fucking rad to hear like other people engaging in that kind of stuff. You know?
Mhm. Well,
Um,
yeah, I mean, I had a hell of a fun time. I debated my grandmother, and of course, it was on Thanksgiving. So no,
right.
like it's funny because so my grandparents, and what's cool about my grandparents is they are very authentic as well. But they're not there, and I really do mean this with full sincerity. They're not by any means like alt-right. They're much more in like the Tea Party, right? Which I'm sure you don't like them either. But that's a, you know,
I
whatever.
mean, it's preferable to being a neo-Nazi. I'll
Exactly,
take it.
exactly.
You know.
And I mean, even when I told my grandparents like the kind of response I was receiving from people who are more alt-right, it was obvious that they had visible disgust at the thought of like this country should only be for like white people or something. Like that just sounds so fucking dumb. But me and my my grandma got in a debate on trans people during
I can't imagine having a debate on trans people with a grandma. I can't
it was I'll be honest, it was so much fun. So we started off with talking about like how like yeah, they're like every white person isn't like a racist, but there are systems in place that disadvantage black people. And that, you know, slowly but surely led to the discussion on trans people. It turned out to be like this hour-long like debate. And my dad is really cool because he's a little bit more of like the passive type. He prefers to just stay out of the confrontation, which I don't know how, you know, I got to be where I am, but he kind of just sat there like doing the dishes, just listening to us argue about like the validity of transgender people. And it was just like those kind of discussions they're really, really enjoyable. They're really fun to have, especially when they're with family members. I mean, my grandparents literally got me into politics. They're the ones that sort of like lit the fire I had for like politics, and that's part of the reason why I started off being so right-leaning. But I mean, it was a very, very interesting conversation. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling at this point. But
No. I mean, it's something that I don't get to experience. I spent Thanksgiving just with my girlfriend up here in our house in Seattle. I didn't go down to see my parents because the flight timings just didn't work out. And even if I did, my parents agree with me on most of my my parents are liberals, so I can't talk about socialism with them. And I think my dad still doesn't understand what trans people are, but the sentiment is there. Like, you know, he'll listen to pronouns and stuff like that. I think he's just accepted
and I
that
think that's
the progressive line has moved beyond his sort of boomer sensibilities, you know?
Right. And, you know, I think that's how a lot more people are than they're given credit for. And that's another flaw I've noticed. Just, I'm not here to critique liberals all day, but like, I do recognize that I think sometimes liberals do sort of enforce the idea that like everyone is kind of out to get trans people or out to get black people. And I do think that there's, of course, a lot of like subconscious transphobia and subconscious racism. But I also think that there are a lot of people who might just not understand, or they might just be busy with their own lives and they just don't really give a shit.
Yeah, that's what so many people forget. And I think the left forgets this the most, frankly. Most people live desperate, busy, frantic lives, and they do not have the time or emotional energy to acquaint themselves with the nuances of advanced gender theory or intersectional analysis of racism. This is so far beyond, and it's why it frustrates me so much. Earlier, you're not entitled to my explanation type, because while not everyone is interested in a full explanation, everyone is off-put by an unwillingness to engage. And sometimes all it can take is a 10-minute convo with someone in a neutral environment, and you've got like I don't want to say like you've got a convert or anything, but you've got someone who will listen to you.
Right, and that's kind of what happened with me talking to my family.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing.
Which is,
absolutely.
You know, based and epic, frankly.
Based in red pill.
Yeah, based in red
Someone
pill.
asked in the chat if did Hunter find social construct. Yes, I did. That was that's what man, you know what? I just decided to just kind of post it just on my Instagram, be a little safe for a second, because I knew it would be a massacre if I did said something like that on my channel. Which a video like that is coming. Don't worry, guys. But yes, I finally just is a social construct. As long as like, I just think so many people still think of sex and gender as being the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So when you say, I'm sorry, I got a comment. There's comments. Am I cutting out?
You cut out for like 1/4 of 1 second. They're being babies.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah. Now I'm getting the understanding why you hate your chat.
Oh no, they're
Kidding,
horrible.
joke. um, shit, I completely forgot where I was going with this. Oh, right, the gender thing. Yeah, I mean, after doing enough research on it, and also to be completely honest, to a lot of your talks on gender being a social construct and what that really means, that I was able to kind of think critically and change my opinion on it. I think that a big problem with the right, and this is something I've noticed, is just being in the right sort of sphere for so long.
Mhm.
A lot of these liberal words are a little like, I don't want to say overused, but they've become like essentially just buzzwords that equal bad, like in your mind, like to so anytime you hear like social construct, I think that a lot of right leaning people are already like, what the fuck, shut up. Like just stop. Like instantly the minute you say so anything's like a social construct, well, now you're talking like a liberal, right?
Yeah,
Or I mean,
that's so frustrating because, and I'm not trying to sound like patronizing to like a broader audience here, but a lot to a lot of conservatives, basic academic terminology is like um
liberal.
is like lib shit talk, you know, like that's all it
Right.
takes from like social construct isn't like a liberal term. It's just it just describes a certain state of being for a concept. Oh, hey, shoe on
Right.
head. I was actually going to say, and before I forget, before I had a conversation with you, the first time we talked, Hunter, when we debated, it was actually a
Mhm.
conversation with Shoe on Head that that made me think that like amicability or like or led me to expect good faith because she spoke well of you from having met you in the past.
Oh, really? Well, that's very nice. Thank you, Shionhead. I appreciate that.
She's been so nice to me, you know.
Yeah. She was really starting to come around too. It's funny because me and Shu used to beef because back when she was like really good friends with Blair, they
Mhm.
would team up on me on Twitter. Um, and I don't really know what her
That's
status
okay.
is
We're
with
still
Blair.
mad at Shu for being friends with Blair. We
Oh,
haven't.
okay.
Yeah, we
We're
haven't.
still mad about that. Okay,
We're
yeah.
still.
Well,
We'll never,
now that
never,
now I
never
just
let
have
it
to go
go.
along with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, that's it's been a quite a ride, but it's been a lot of fun. I did want to throw in too that the closest I ever got to being alt right, the closest I ever got to going down a neo-Nazi path was definitely um my approach on Islam. So I think that like Islam can be, I think that it's like any other religion, right? Like you can peacefully practice Islam or you can use Islam to further really bad ideas.
Hmm.
And so my issue back at the time was I was like a big component of the whole like Islam cannot exist with Western culture sort of talking point.
Yeah.
Um, that was kind of like my big approach. And there were definitely some takes I had on Islam that was like the first would have been the first step into like a neo-Nazi white ethno state sort of my
That's
thought
Crowder's
process.
closest avenue too. Yeah, that's also Stephen where he gets the
Right.
closest.
And
The clash of civilization, the clash of civilizations narrative, the idea that Western culture has to defend itself against like the Islamic Caliphate or whatever is like a really
right.
good base point for people to think that like fascistic politics are necessary. You know?
Right. Exactly. And I listened to Prout way back where you were talking about how um Islamic extremism is motivated more so by socioeconomic issues than Islam. And at first, I didn't really totally agree with you on that. And then I kind of agreed with you on that. I guess where I stand on that right now is I think that it most likely, and maybe this is just a fence sitter approach. I don't know.
Hmm.
So feel free to shit talk me guys in the chat. But um, I kind of think it's a little bit of both. I think that Islam can be interpreted to encourage extremism, and if you are in a poor socioeconomic situation, you're already more likely to sort of buy into that. So I think personally, I think that's a little bit of both. It's I don't know.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I think so it's undeniable in a geopolitical sense that that having poor socioeconomic conditions leads to a greater increase in crime. This is the case
Hmm.
every country in the world, every religion, race of people, gender, it doesn't matter. That's just across the board true.
Right.
Though I do agree there is a particular context that enables extremism. And I
Hmm.
think it is currently most evident in the Islamic world, but we're seeing it now with the alt-right. The formula seems to be if you take young, dispossessed, angry, and often sexless young men, and you
Hmm.
tell them that, and they feel listless and meaningless. This is true with the alt-right here, and very much also the case in Afghanistan and Syria, and
Hmm.
some parts of Iraq. And if you take these
Right.
places and these people and you say, your life is meaningless now, of course, but this is because you are the victim of an international conspiracy to destroy you and your people. For the alt-right, it's the Jews. For the ISIS types, unfortunately, they're kind of correct because the Western countries have been systemically destroying the Middle East for, not to say that justifies anti-white violence or anything. I'm just saying, and
No,
then
no,
you bring them
I
over and you
totally get it. Yeah.
radicalize them. And you can see this because when you look at the recruitment websites for ISIS, they actually use rhetoric and propaganda similar to what you'll find on the Daily Stormer or on 4chan's poll board. It's very, very
Hmm.
similar. So I think because the Middle East has been subjected broadly to a socio-political climate that furthers extremism, and that there is a pre-existing sort of assumption of civilizational war going on there, it makes
Hmm.
it easier for them to fall into extremism. And
Right.
that's definitely an example of Islam abetting that process somewhat.
Right.
Also,
Right. Right.
Shuan Head is asking you, and I have to, Shuan Head, 5 million subscribers. I have to, I must respect the question.
PewDiePie of the
PewDiePie
conservatives.
of the
No, I better not call her conservative. Sorry.
of the alt-right Shuan Head. Hunter, do you find your audience has shifted along with you, or do you feel that you are leaving them behind?
I just think it's a little bit of both. I think that honestly, the more extremist followers of mine have definitely pushed a large percentage of my audience against them because a lot of people are realizing, like, I mean, my post even about sodomizing my wife, which was pretty funny, I thought, but even that
I
one,
thought it was funny.
there were a lot of people in the comments that were like, I cannot believe how many people are still this fucking homophobic. Like, and a lot of people are just disgusted by it. So, the more far right radical types, they are kind of, they're leaving me. They've left me for the most part, and they are now my enemy. And that is the way I would like it to be. I do not want to be their friend. I don't want to be anything even like, on their side. And that's the thing is what I had to do is I had to I had to basically tell my alt-right followers that this is no longer like a safe space for you guys. I'm no longer on your side, or I no longer want to even be seen, or I don't want it to be interpreted like I'm on your side. Which is kind of what I did. So the more far right people, they left, they unsubscribed. I don't care. And then the more reasonable, level-headed, principled people are sticking around. And a lot of people have told me too that they really are thankful that I don't just follow party lines and that I, form my own opinions. And that's kind of how I've always been. It's just that I did used to peddle a lot more right-leaning talking points as well. But
Yeah.
I'm going to have to head out sort of soon. But if you
Oh,
want, I know you did this with Shoe on Head. If you want to do some questions in the chat, that could be a lot of
absolutely. I
fun.
would love to make money off of my audience's curiosity. How much do you have? 10, 15 minutes?
Anywhere, yeah, 10, 20 minutes.
Okay, cool.
I just kind of sort of right into
Chat. It's time. Donos, Questorinos, minimum $5. Don't fucking waste Hunter Avallone's time.
That's right.
Seriously though, just ask Hunter questions, okay?
Yeah.
And donate for guaranteed question answer because I'm.
Someone did also say, Hunter, I just want strive to better yourself in your content. I now consider you a comrade. Well, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cirrus, you get a free question because you're blue name. Nice to see you in chat, comrade.
Okay.
Yeah, Cirrus is another left-leaning YouTuber who I quite like.
Yeah, I saw his responses to me, and before I didn't watch his responses, but I know he responded to me. I will be open with you guys about where I am on like the political spectrum, because a lot of people have been. Some people are like Hunters. Some people still say that I'm like alt right. Some people still say that are saying that I'm like a let. And the reason I'm calling myself a free thinker now is because honestly, and I know some people might call this being offensive or I don't know, whatever, but I honestly hold opinions that just they aren't all one-sided. Like, I'm definitely proud to admit that I try to be as left as I possibly can when it comes to the issue of like gender and transgenderism. With freedom, I want people to be free to live their lives however they please. But, and I know that you're not going to agree with me on this one, Vosh, but I think the most hardline conservative position I still hold is I am against abortion, but that's not to say that I want it to be like made illegal. I think that abortion is a really complicated, like philosophical discussion.
So to clarify, because chat's gonna read, and I'm just clarifying. So you personally do not like abortion, but you in a policy sense support people's right to choose. You don't think it should be made illegal.
I don't think, well, here's the thing. I don't support abortion. I don't like it. And I do think that I do my best to debate why I think it's wrong. However, I don't think that it should be made illegal by any means. I think that since it's such a complicated philosophical discussion, it's something that needs to change in someone's heart, personal. It needs to be a personal thing that changes for them. And I also think that, it's a common talking point, but like if you outlaw abortion, it's not going to stop people from getting abortion. It's only going to make it so that the abortions that people do get is a lot more unsafe.
Okay,
unsafe.
I think that's a fair position. I wouldn't argue that. It is a hard philosophical line, and I've always said this. I don't like debating abortion. No, I have my set opinions on it. I don't believe in the personhood of fetuses, but that's not an empirical position. If a person did believe in the personhood of fetuses, they could make decent arguments about like body autonomy as well. If a person wants to make a convincing argument that abortion is morally wrong, there's not an empirical way to refute that. It's just a matter of personal opinion. So I think that's perfectly reasonable. We're gonna have to run through these questions way the fuck faster.
It's all right. I can get comfy.
Sake Tanuki asks, with $5, what is Hunter's take on the HQ?
What's that?
It's the Hibernian question.
Oh, now see, the JQ is bullshit, but the HQ is 100% right.
We got another one.
Hold on, can I? I just need to mute myself for one quick.
Second. Go for it.
Just 3 seconds.
Yeah. Others got like babies and stuff, and just maybe a baby died. That'd be horrible. I shouldn't joke about that. I probably shouldn't make jokes like that. Hopefully not. Yeah. All right. Sorry. Oh shit. We're gonna have to go through these donos a lot faster. Oh geez. Oh geez. Oh boy. I'm really glad we scheduled this. It's so nice to be able to talk to Hunter again. With all the shit I deal with, I've got Sargon coming up in 4 days. It's so nice to talk to reasonable people now and again, Oh god. I just have to wait. He lied. He said 3 seconds. What do you want from me?
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I'm eating a brownie, so just heads up.
No. SETI WAP with $5. Have your views on abortion changed? I think we basically just covered that, so we can go through that. Sophie with the $10. No question. Just enjoyed the chat. Okay. Gayfesh with the $5. Who are you currently thinking of voting for in 2020?
I knew this was going to come up. That I can honestly say I just don't know at this point. I literally just don't know.
That's totally fair, comrade.
It's strange because I'm I used to be a really big Trump fan, and I still think that the left gets a little bit too triggered by like everything Trump does. But I also think that a lot of Trump's policies, they kind of just look good. Like Trump can brag all day about like the low unemployment rate or whatever, but like what did he do to make that happen? Nothing.
Yeah,
So
that's like great, greatest economy. Like you have to ask, like, what specific policies led to that? Because the GDP has been on a steady upward climb for like 50 years. So yeah, what exactly, yeah, no, I completely agree. That's okay. We'll make you a Delaniac yet, okay? John Delaney, the dark horse candidate of 2020, no doubt.
All right, sounds good.
Sophie with the $10 says chat equals debate. Yes, not a complete sentence, but yeah, sure. Thank you very much. Ljest _ with $5 to Hunter. What would it take for you to call yourself a socialist/leftist, i.e., that the workers should own the means of production?
The socialism thing, it's for me. I'm already shit at math, so any kind of like economic discussion is so overwhelming for me. I would definitely be really curious. Like, I can't really answer that. I would rather, maybe I can come on a third time, Vosh, and we can talk about socialism, because I just have a lot of questions about it. Anytime you like talk about it on your stream, it always sounds really good, but then part of me also thinks like socialism always sounds really good, but has it actually worked? And if so, where has it worked?
It is a discussion I would love to have with you.
All right. Yeah, I'm not actually trying to be me just asking questions about it, because where I'm at right now is I think that capitalism is good for a lot of things, but I do think that something needs to follow capitalism.
Okay.
I'm just not sure what that is yet.
Yeah, I mean, history has been marching forward for a long time now. It doesn't make sense that things would just stop.
Right.
Yeah, no, completely agreed. All right, here, let me scroll through. Mythaldo with the $5 asks, Hunter, how interested are you in more academic information on the current state of trans science? If yes, is your YouTube email the right place to send that?
Yes, I would actually love that. I a little bit of self-promotion here. I've started a website as well, hunteravallone.net, where I'm running a blog, and I use that blog to type up a little bit more like academic positions of mine. My last one was on being a free thinker and on, some of the dumb shit that I've done. I did one on Nick Fuentes being a degenerate and everything, all that.
Good. Highly academic.
Fun shit. Yeah, highly academic. But no, the more studies, the better. I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I've enjoyed most about being a public figure is being able to just ask on stream and get like a flood of peer-reviewed data that like I don't even have to use Google Scholar. I don't even have to use Sci-Hub. All I have to do is ask nicely, and people will eagerly give me, like info. It's really nice. Let me see. Sirius says, I don't know if this is a question, but I'm reading anyway. Honestly, your videos aside, you do seem to be incredibly honest, Hunter. I do think the videos I did on your abortion topic are the ones I'd personally prefer you check out if you're ever in the mood for that lull. But again, you seem honest, which is more than enough. I don't know if that's a question, but the sentiment, rings through, which is important.
Maybe I'll check it out.
My girlfriend, Hyena, with the $5. Hey, Hyena, remember when you used to donate to me every stream back when I was really small and you would encourage me by giving me $5? Those were the days. Back when
Hyena's just like giving you money that's just going to come back around.
Right back to her, yeah. Essentially, this is like 60 cents that have gone to PayPal, but the sentiment is really cute. Hyena asks, Hi, Hunter. I see you made a video on Lizzo. I haven't watched it, but I want to go over it on stream. Where do you stand on fat politics / body positivity? Also want to say thank you for being open to change.
Oh, wow. That's actually a really good question. And that's a subject I've covered a lot, partly because my most viewed video is actually on the fat acceptance movement. I try my hardest to take a nuanced approach with that. And for me, I think that, like Lizzo, for example, I don't think we should be celebrating her body. I think that when you reach a certain weight, it's not healthy. And I don't think there's any, we shouldn't be trying to sugarcoat that. I also think that I think there's something to be said about, loving your body. You should obviously, have self-respect. I don't want to see people who are overweight being bullied or treated like subhuman or any shit like that. But what I talked about in my Lizzo video is actually how I think there's a spectrum. There's one side where you can like be a complete dick and demean fat people, or there's the other side where you're like worshiping or glorifying people who are like unhealthy. I think there's a middle ground there where rather than condemning or promoting it, you can acknowledge like, hey, let's be proud of who we are as people. But if you love yourself, you'll also work to improve yourself and be the best version of yourself that you can be.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. Body politics isn't really my strong suit. My girlfriend did like academic research on it back in college, so she probably knows quite a bit more than I do on the subject.
That would actually be I would be very interested hearing her approach on that, because especially my more recent activity I feel have been pretty reasonable, but I would still always be interested in hearing another take on it.
You've gotten in, Hyena. You got it. The burgeoning Twitch career.
Great. Does that mean it? So I'm gonna have to get fucked up. Step on a debate with Hyena.
Yeah, she is I think quite nice and amicable. Yeah, she says she'd love to talk to you about it sometime.
Cool.
There we go. Laura Stark with the $5. I think I can answer this one. Maybe I missed this part, but is Hunter a Bernie bro? No, I do not believe so at this time. Am I correct in that?
I like Bernie more than any other Democrat.
I think that's very reasonable given the fucking lineup we have and the recent Warren shit. Oh my god! Any chance of likability, with these people, except for Delaney, of course. Blessed be his name.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you know what? Maybe just to trigger you, Vosh, I'll vote for Tulsi.
Yeah, playing to the shoe on head camp. I see. Out of curiosity, how do you feel about Yang?
Oh, he's, you know what? A lot of this stuff I haven't done extensive research on. I think that like he's trying to use that like $1,000 a month thing to sound good, but that would only inflate the economy. Also, I used to not have an opinion on Yang, and then me and my wife sat down and watched your video on Yang, and then that helped me learn a little more about him.
I will say, to his credit, he's gone back on his claim that that your Yang bucks would have the cost of whatever welfare services you're already using being discounted on a monthly basis. He did go back on that, and I respect. I think I don't agree with his positions. I feel like he takes the wrong approach towards the problems we face, but I do respect he's bringing legitimate attention to the fact that automation means we will eventually have, like many service jobs and transportation jobs will be replaced. And I think as a person, I think he's pretty cute and fun, Well,
I think what I can admire about Yang, and this is always admired about Bernie, even way back when he was running the 2016 election, is I appreciate that both Bernie and Yang do appear to be genuine and authentic. Like, especially, I say that especially with Bernie. I mean, seeing Bernie versus Hillary's like a fucking robot. She's just saying like her, just repeating like the programmed shit the DNC told her to say. Whereas I always got the vibe from Bernie that he really genuinely wants to help the American people, and he's going about it the way he feels best.
Yeah. And I think that's important. I think authenticity, crazy fucking important. In these days, with how compromised political candidates are, with how much they're strangled by the expectations of like the media and of their political party, I think authenticity is ever more important. I'm starting to lean towards supporting it over policy. Okay, we got to run through these a little quicker because I don't want to keep you here forever.
It's okay.
Gotcha. Shoe on Head says, again, not a question. Hunter, I have the script all ready to respond to your Bernie video, but I will spare you.
Thank you, Shu. Please spare me, because that might be one of my next videos.
Thank you, Shoe on Head, for your mercy.
Wow, so nice. Honestly, Shoe on Head, I'm not going to bring up our old beef or anything, but I spared you so maybe you can spare me back. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bless. We need a bless emote in my chat. Professor Studs with the $5. Hunter, I also suck at econ. Let's learn it together, comrade. Peppo hug. What do you think is the key component in someone re-examining their positions, either internally or externally?
The key, I mean, the first thing is just being willing to, I think. And that's kind of what happened with me. Like I said, monologue about everything that happened. It put me in a place where life basically humbled me. And I just was in a position where I was no longer so arrogant, and I was willing to kind of step back and re-examine my viewpoints. And I'll be honest, just, I'm so glad I have, like, being it's funny because before I like fully just embraced like the trans ideology,
Yeah.
I would be kind of arguing with like my fiance about it, or I'd be listening to your streams on it, and I could feel that inside of me like wanting to resist it still. But there's a point where I was like, why am I resisting it if it's like data driven? As long as it's data driven, I'm willing to listen to anything as long as it has some data to back it up, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So yeah. Sorry,
Nice.
that was probably unnecessary, but
No, not at all. Yeah, let me go through these. Bunny Sunny Mew with the $10. Hunter, I think I'll be answering this one actually. Maybe I'll take the bullet here. Hunter, I debated Vosh for you. You never watched it. I sent you super chats, but you never followed me back on Instagram, and you refunded my video chats. Why do you treat your fans like this? Debate me. Okay, Hunter.
Wait, what is refunded video chat?
I am. You can refund super chats through. Wait, no. Okay.
Wait, is she saying? Wait, is she saying I never refunded her?
No, I think she's saying you did refund her.
Okay, Bunny Sunny Meow, I recognize your username. I know that you've donated to me multiple times, and I've always responded to them. I don't know if I used to do the follow back for $5 on Instagram thing a long while ago. Go ahead and send me your email if you. Excuse me, send me your Instagram username on to my email, and I'll go ahead and I guess follow you back. But I'm sorry that I didn't have time to watch you debate Vosh on my behalf. I appreciate it, but next question.
Yeah, I just I just want to say, just folks, please try to have healthy relationships with the people whose content you consume.
And also, I mean, I do obviously, I don't want to be giving the impression that I'm, just taking from my fans and not giving back. So if I gave you that impression, I guess I apologize, but I haven't done anything really. Send me your Instagram username and I'll. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Fair is fair. All right.
Yeah. That's an as amicable a conclusion as this can conceivably get. Okay. Alan Hannigan with the $5. Hunter, Shu, and Vosh, the founding members of the long-needed leftist pipeline. It's true. One day you watch Hunter, and the next day you're a part of the Vanguard Party. What are you gonna do?
There you go.
It's hard out there.
You're joining in.
The Hibernian conspiracy. You're a part of it now, lad. All right. Okay. Oh God. Sorry. Okay. We're almost caught up. We can do this. I believe in us.
I believe in us too.
Pyotr Online with the $5 asked, I think this is for me, Hibernian? Hibernian is an old term that basically just means Irish. It has like pagan roots. It's a meme. It's a meme.
That's funny.
Brutus Magnuson with the $5 and the great name. Most people are against toxic masculinity as long as you don't say toxic masculinity. I agree with that.
Yeah, and that's a really perfect example of what I was kind of saying earlier with people. They just hear these terms, and rather than analyzing them, they sort of just have been trained to, like, it's a buzzword and just kind of equals bad, don't listen, liberal, wrong. Like, rather than really analyzing what is or isn't about it.
Yeah. 100% agreed. Conciliator with the $5. If Hunter doesn't like abortion, ask him if he supports better and more extensive sex education and better access to free and cheap contraception, which are shown to decrease unwanted pregnancies.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Of course, the only thing I would say to that is I just think it's important that when you're teaching like sex ed in schools, that it just begins at a reasonable age. I'm
Uh-oh.
not saying like wait till someone's like 16 to tell them about sex, but I'm also saying that like I might not like the idea of like a 5-year-old being taught about sex. I think there's like an innocence to being a kid that it's nice to have for a little while, but I do think absolutely there should be better sex education, and there should also be much more, easier access to contraceptives.
I think my opinion on this is, so I had sex ed at 8th grade, which is 13 for most students. And
Okay.
I think that's too late because kids at 13 are already like fucking and jerking off and stuff. I think
Yeah, that might be a little late.
I
I learned
think
about sex when I was like 10.
yeah, I think getting a formal education on it in like 6th grade, so around 11, that's probably going to catch like 99% of people's sexual activity. And before
Mhm.
that, maybe in school there could be maybe in like 2nd or 3rd grade, like biology or something, there could be like like a very basic, like not even sex ed, like this is what genitalia are. And the reason why I think that's important is because you need to give kids like names for things,
Right.
because if you don't, they can't describe if they're being abused. I've read stuff
I
saying
actually,
it's
you know what? That's a really good point. And I agree with that too. I think that like there's a way to appropriately explain to children like the human body without yeah. No, I actually I can get behind.
yeah, but I agree. Like probably like extensive sex education earlier than like 11 probably feels really fucking unnecessary.
Yeah,
Um
I think anywhere between 10 or 11. I mean, like I said, 10 was all about sex and stuff. So I feel like that's probably a decent age.
Yeah. Oh, Hyena's right. The issue, I think, is that schools assume parents give you a preliminary sex ed, but they don't because they didn't even get one. Yeah, a lot of schools usually assume parents will talk to their kids about this before the school does, but a lot of parents don't. You know,
Hmm.
um,
Okay.
which is pretty dumb. Um,
Yeah.
Little Bite with the $100 donation. Holy shit, comrade.
Wow.
Fuck. Wait.
I'm so glad I'm getting 50% from Vosh's
Yeah.
socialist policies over here paying off.
We'll talk about that after the stream.
So now
We'll
you're
work
a
the
capitalist.
contract out.
Okay,
Here,
I got it.
here, hold on, wait. I wait, because I don't have this set up yet. I have to play this. Wait,
I'm kidding.
wait.
Toss a coin to your streamer.
There. That's I'll just manually play that when somebody donates a fuck. I somebody do a little. Have you seen the Witcher series on Netflix?
Actually, I don't use Netflix, so no.
That's very principled of you. It's surprisingly
I know.
good. I enjoyed it a lot.
Here's maybe my most controversial. Hulu is way better than that.
Anyway, here's the content of the dono. Hulu's pretty okay. I watched the original video Hunter did on transgenderism, and I have to say it really hit me and made me think about why I am trans. And I'm really glad to see Hunter's position has changed. I love you, V. Aw.
Wow. Well, I appreciate that, and I'm just glad that you're Vosh. I'm thankful that you're allowing me a platform where I can sort of clarify on some of my changed views. I mean, I saw a tweet the other day. Someone was like, "Oh, Hunter Avallone, he thinks trans people have a mental illness," and I'm like, "Oh God, it's gonna take so long to move away from that reputation." But
Yeah. I mean, there will probably be a segment of the internet that will never move on from that point, but they're not your target
Right.
audience anyway. And I think and one of the things that sucks the most about like what we do is that and the platform that we use is that there's really no way to get rid of a legacy.
Mhm.
Years in the future, people will still, carry memories or grudges from older stuff. Even if as
People
a person
still
that
say that I'm a
changed.
fucking creationist.
Yeah.
People
Like
literally still call me a
like
creationist.
sometimes people will like pune me for stuff that I said 6 months ago that I disagree with now, and like it's like 6 months. This is like an insane length of time in my brain. Like 6 months ago, do you have any idea how many times I've jerked off between now and then? I'm a completely different person. All the cells have replaced themselves, but they
Right.
act like it's me now. And for you, this goes back even further. So,
Right.
yeah.
And honestly, like, it's just weird because I've talked to my wife about this. Like, if I hadn't started YouTube when I started it, would I have gotten to where I am today? And I just don't know. Like my video I made on trans people, the truth about transgenders, I was 19 when I made that video, and I'm 23 now with like one kid and another kid on the way. Like that doesn't sound like that long of a time, but that's so much shit that's changed. And like, I don't know. It's just crazy to think that people are still, they still remember me as like that transphobic 19-year-old like angry teenager.
I'm so glad that my stuff from 19 isn't how people define me now, because at 19 the only content I have out there from when I was 19 were my early debates with Destiny, and like the earliest ones that got uploaded, and I was a nasally little shit back then. And I'm so glad that isn't like they don't have to live down that legacy every day. Honestly, frankly, you were far more composed at 19 than I was. So well,
I appreciate that. I mean, you know what? I've tried to convince myself. I've tried to muster up the courage to watch your responses to my old videos, but I haven't been able to bring myself to.
You never even watched them? They're just in the void?
They're just in the void. No. I watched your response to my newer video, but the one where you did the response to the truth about transgenders and the feminist one, I actually haven't watched those yet. And quite frankly, I'm scared to watch them because I'm going to be cringing so hard at me.
And if I watched them, I would be and I'm very temporal, you know. If I watched them now, all I would think is, why am I being so mean to my good friend Hunter Avallone? You know, so maybe.
No, but at the time, I don't blame you at all.
We can
those videos were really bad.
In the dust together. We can walk away hand in hand.
All right.
From those times. Okay,
well, not hand in hand. That's a little gay.
That is a little gay. You know, a hand within 10 foot of the other's hand. You know.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Here, hold on. Oh. Vontux with the $5. Among people in your seriously, little bite, thanks for the $100 donation. That was super generous of you. Vontux with the $5. Among people in your age group, do you have some idea how well your politics align with other Zoomers? Are you typical or atypical? What about when you were more conservative?
Was that directed at me or you, Bob?
Oh, you, I assume, because I've talked about this. You know.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that again?
Of course. Among people in your age group, do you have some idea how well your politics align with other Zoomers? Are you typical or atypical? What about when you were more conservative?
Well, when I was more conservative, it's hard to tell, to be honest, because I just spend most of my time on the internet with, you know, doing work and shit. So like, there's probably some Zoomers I align with, probably some that I don't. I mean, a lot of Zoomers, unfortunately, seem to be alt-right. So I don't align with, you know, those people, but that's kind of a tough question to answer because of course I align with some of them and I don't align with other ones.
Yeah. It's hard to like put Zoomers in like a broad prescriptive political candidate.
Right. There's not really any like Zoomer doesn't have like a political position necessarily.
Apparently, Zoomers have a little bit more conservative views when it comes to gay marriage and stuff than Gen X, which is unfortunate. But I don't know if there are other conditions which are affecting that. I blame Gamergate. Whatever the case may be. Ask yourself, with the 5 Canadian buckery dues, are we still doing we still doing a vegan chat, Hunter? I'd love to bring you around on that topic, seeing as you've been so reasonable on others. Vouch for me, Vosh. I can vouch for Ask Yourself.
I feel so bad. Ask Yourself so many times to come on his show. And the thing is veganism is not only something that I know nothing about, but it's a subject that doesn't really interest me that much. I know that's probably like a sin to a lot of vegans, but I'll try to come on your show. Ask Yourself. Go ahead and just send me
gird your loins, because he goes hard on the philosophical syllogistic speak.
That's the thing is I know it's going to be, you know, he'll be leading the discussion, because not only will I not have any rebuttals, I'm not going to care that much. So
that is a response, but I can vouch, but I can vouch, and I will vouch for his authenticity and his incredible willingness to argue for veganism. Dude called into Sam Cedar to talk about this fairly recently. Like he really cares, and again, authenticity. You know, I respect that. Counterpoints with the $5. At Hunter, yes, I'm a clout chasing right-wing cop who did a really good stream with Vosh IMO. Yeah, that's true. I want to fight you for the position of Vosh's favorite right-winger. Are you down?
I wouldn't really call myself, so you can take that place.
Oh, shit. All right, then you're my favorite free thinker then, Hunter Avallone.
Yeah, I know it's kind of cheesy, but,
No, not...
whatever.
Well, the political discourse is framed in such a narrow window, already. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to break the mold a little bit.
Right.
Okay, let me see. Okay, some of these are not questions, but I'll go over them anyway. The Shadow Bee with the 2 Canadian, #free Neon Noir. Why would Neon Noir not be free? Did Neon Noir get banned? Did they post like gore or something? What? Sure, we'll work on it. Comrade D with the $5. Toss a coin to your streamer. I did that jingle. Indeed. Shoe on Bread with the $5. I've been on the Bernie train since the 1980s. I know you're not actually Shoe on Head because Shoe on Head was born in 2007. But I'm glad Bernie's pretty cool. Okay, here's one. Sean 1 with the $5. Hunter, what are your thoughts on single payer healthcare? Also, do you have high hopes for a living?
I do have high hopes, but I'm not supporting. I don't even remember the candidate. Was that Pete Buttigieg?
Yeah.
Single payer healthcare. I guess that's what single payer healthcare versus fucking universal healthcare. Is that kind of where that discussion
yeah, I
is?
guess so. Probably single payer as opposed to like public option or what we currently have. If I had,
I actually, you know what? I'm gonna have to run right after this, but I wanted to ask you this really quickly. So here's the thing. I agree that single payer healthcare is so expensive, and I really think it's legitimately disgusting that there are people in our country who can't get medical help. Like there are people who like can't seek help for mental illnesses because they can't afford therapy. I think that's really fucked up. Here's my question for you, Vosh, because I know you're all about the universal healthcare. Universal healthcare sounds good, right? But I've heard like horror stories, I guess, from like the UK where the government basically says that like kids who are sick can't seek the medical help that they need, or they have a higher likelihood of dying, so they can't get, they can't get treatment or something. How much, what would that really look like? Because I don't like the thought of the government controlling healthcare.
I will say this. There have been problems with UK healthcare lately due to Tory defunding. The NHK has been strangled over the past decade. However, a lot of the rumors concerning that type of healthcare are either dishonest or over exaggerations of the fact that sometimes in did I say NHK? Okay, fuck you guys. You know what I'm talking about. Sometimes in those countries where it's sort of government mandated healthcare, there are fairly long wait times for elective surgeries or elective care, but there are next to none when it comes to things that like immediate care or doctor's checkups or stuff like that. So the wait times.
I've even heard shit that people are like, I had cancer so long to get help that the cancer spread or something.
I can't examine like the specific claim, but I know that a lot of those have been, what I have seen, a lot of those have been flatly dishonest. There are huge problems with these countries' healthcare systems that I'm not going to gloss over, but a lot of them are just attempts at sort of post hoc justifying how bad the American system is by pretending other systems have. But I need to do way more research on this. This would be like a hardcore.
I appreciate that. I mean, this is something I'm actually really interested in.
You've got to run. There are just two more that have quick answers that I can read to you really quick. They're mostly like sentimental things, I think. SLKFT with a 20 euros. Thank you. Speaking of, says, thank you, Hunter, for being so open to alternative viewpoints and arguments. Very cool. I used to think of you as a cringe boomer. By the way, Bernie and Yang are pretty cool. Yeah, if you're a boomer, what am I? Tulsi is hot, but she goes too far with establishment bad. So, yeah, just love towards you. And last but not least, Hunter, diabetic rights?
Diabetic rights, yes.
Nice. And trans rights, too.
Okay, well, hold on here, because if I'm going to say trans rights, Vosh, I want to get a libtard.
Libtard rights?
No, libtard wrecked.
Libtard, right? Oh, absolutely. Fuck libtard. I'll wreck libtards on the street day in, day out. With you, without you. Fuck libtards. And trans rights. True.
Trans rights. There you go.
Hey,
all right. Well, thanks for the talk.
Thank
This
you
was a lot of fun.
so much. Love to have you on. Hope we can speak again in the future. Have a phenomenal day. Tell your baby all of chat loves them.
I will. Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good one.